There we go. Word bomb, what are you doing? Oh yeah, that's a great idea. What's up, Zach? How you doing, man? Ed, what's up? All right. This is what I want. Right here. Ah, the big, huge, like 3-level dungeon. Yeah. That's gonna be awesome, dude. I'm excited for that. Dude, thanks for the tier 1, man. Yeah, you got 1 month. You got 1 month to go, dude. And you'll have a complete year racked up on Twitch. You also drew first blood on our boss, man. Well done. D&D Scotty, yo, what's up? Thanks for the cat strike. Gotta keep my cats happy. Keep them happy. Dan, what's up, man? Ooh, look at Dan. Dan has been here well over a year. He's got the big dragon before his name. Yeah, War Wizards, they get like their intelligence modifier bonus to their initiative, right? Grumps, what's up, man? Well done, Dan. You got the big dragon. Ooh. Make people jealous. Will Rat, what's up, dude? They get both dexterity and intelligence. Well, I mean, everybody gets dexterity, right? So yeah, I gotcha. Or War Wizards. What's the other? What's the type of wizard that can wield a sword in combat and stuff? That's War Wizard, right? That's War Wizard. Blade Singer. Okay, Blade Singer. Blade Singer. That's the one I like. When I'm a wizard, I like Blade Singer because it allows me to do melee too. It's interesting for both wizard and warlock. I usually don't like playing wizards and I usually don't like playing warlocks, but Blade Singer Wizard and then Hexblade Warlock, I like both of those because it allows me to be both a spellcaster and to go into melee combat or combat in general. I guess it doesn't have to be melee, but I just like having that option. Well, no, actually, yeah, no. Hexblade and Blade Singer, it's melee. Their thing is melee, so it is melee. Okay. Yeah, Blade Singers are sweet. Swashbuckler Rogues are pretty cool too. Doc Lannister, hello. That's what we love about clerics. Oh yeah, yep. And clerics get the heavy armor. Shield, just throw, yep, armor class 20, baby. By the way, Zach and Ed, you guys are both in the Penguins one-shot. Clerics at high level, like, are insane. They're super, like, powerful. I think it was my Sword Coast Guard campaign. They were like level 17 or so, and we were running the game, and holy crap, one of the guys was a life cleric. Dude, just dishing out insane amounts of healing, just free hit points all around. It was very, very like, wow, lots of healing going on. I mean, which you would expect. It's a high level cleric, you know, but geez, I had never seen a high level life cleric in action before. And it's the guy who's playing the monk right now. I forget his character's name, but he was just killing it as a life cleric. War Cleric 1, War Wizard 18. Huh. Yeah, splash 1 cleric to get heavy armor. I need to make like I really like Ed's rule where you just can't splash classes. You have to be straight class. You know, there's so many like little cheesy combos you know, that just make you so much more powerful. Carxy Smoky, hello, what's up? Still a seller, hello, how you doing? Ambers, what's up? Ambers, I shipped your book. I shipped your book like yesterday. They said it would take about a week to get there, but you will have it. You will have it by next week, according to the post office. Pickle, hello. Eldir, what's up, dude? Mazoku, what's up? Penguin Butt, what up? Yeah, I almost never play a combo class. I almost always just play a straight class because one, it's easier, and since I'm not a player very often, I don't have to do tons of research or think about it. I just pick a class and play it straight. It's easier, less work on my part, you know. And I have a really hard time giving up ASIs. Like, I want my ASI every 4 levels, and not getting it really, I don't like that, you know. So yeah, your name was a little tough. Matt, what's up, dude? How you doing? Tashio, hello. Penguin Butt is preparing to TPK some people. Penguin Butt, I mean, I want you to do your best. I will warn you though that D&D 5th edition characters are difficult to kill to begin with, and they are very powerful to begin with. And at higher levels, it's even more so the case. They're almost unkillable. And you have to come with overwhelming violence if you want to do a TPK. It's got to be overwhelming, insane, crazy violence, just aggressive desire to ruin lives. You know what I mean? If you want to TPK at high levels, it's not easy to do. It's possible. Your damage output has to be very high. You need to do things that your villains need to have crazy action economy. You need to control the battlefield. You need to have great mobility so you can't get locked down. You need, like, at high level, there are so many spells and other abilities that can pretty much just take a boss out of the fight very quickly. So you gotta, you know, there's lots of things to consider, you know, otherwise, yeah, it could, there's so many equations at high level, which I think is the reason a lot of dungeon masters and groups don't run a high level. It can, I mean, it really depends, but it could be unsatisfying. But it might be fun, who knows? It depends on your group, I guess. It's challenging though, I'll tell you that. Overwhelming, insane, crazy violence. Yes, that's, yes. The Tarrasque is nothing at high level unless the DM homebrews it, because the Tarrasque doesn't have any ranged attacks unless it's ripping up trees and buildings and throwing them at the characters. But if you had a high level game, just cast fly on everybody and you range it to death. The Tarrasque can do nothing, unless of course the DM does a homebrew, which they would be wise to do. Otherwise, the Tarrasque will get destroyed. Just range it to death. It might not be a fun battle. Many of the characters might not get to use their cool stuff, but it will be a winning strategy. Or tactic, I probably should say. Werewolf, what's up, dude? I don't even know how to... Saijfubauafui? Good gravy. I can't do that name. Would I be a bad person if I added range attacks to monsters that don't have them to reach the players who can fly? No! You have to do that! You must anytime... I swear to you, anytime I see a monster that doesn't have a ranged attack, unless it's like a zombie or something where it's like, of course it doesn't have a ranged attack, or if it's like a giant bird, even a giant bird can have like a rock in his claws, but that's only one attack. Unless it's not feasible, right? Things have ranged attacks. Even a zombie could rip off its arm and throw it at you. It's not very smart. You might rip off its head and throw its head at you. I don't know, but you can get creative and figure crap out, you know. But yeah, if I see a monster that is intelligent enough or clever enough to have a ranged attack, it gets a ranged attack. Especially if it can use tools, you know, like weapons or just simple tools, it gets a ranged attack. Yeah, Rod of Resurrection is not super fun. Yeah, something fun was... I haven't even created my character yet. When are we playing? Is it next week? When are we playing? No, it's the week after next week. Yeah, I'll create my character eventually. It's just a rogue. Those are pretty simple to create. Oh, I should start the stream. We're just sitting here talking. All right, let's start the stream. Yay. I can't find my buttons. That's super beautiful. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? This is a live stream. We do these live streams every so often, you know. Tonight, we're gonna be hanging out. I'll be answering your Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master questions. So just throw questions in the chat, hashtag all caps question. And my lovely moderators, including Dan and Penguin Butt and Goliath Cleric and Zack. I just said his name. All of these wonderful, beautiful people, most of whose faces I have seen a lot of their faces. Yeah, I can say they are wonderful, beautiful people. Anyway, Dan is leaving. They're going to be putting your questions into a spreadsheet I have, so there's no need to spam. Spammers die, so I would just not do that. Yeah, throw questions, and we're just going to hang out tonight. I have some news items that we're going to take a look at, see if there's anything interesting in the news, the Dungeons and Dragons RPG news. Maybe we'll find something of interest there we can talk about. But other than that, we're just hanging out, chilling, relaxing, enjoying our wonderful Tuesday evening, and all that kind of stuff. So let us jump in to the patron shout out portion of the stream here. This is where we display on screen the names of a bunch of lovely patrons who help support all of the content that I create, much of it free to the D&D community. Super appreciative of all of these fine and wonderful people who give generously and also get some cool stuff in return. And these folks, one of the cool things they get in return is they get their names read every live stream. And I always try to get it under a minute, and I usually fail. Here we go. 5e Magic Shop, Anthony Ella, Very Merry on Birthday, Amanda W, Arutha, Beoban, Brad A, Brand C, Brand S, Kenny Sora, Chad B, Chase O, Chris C, Chris E, Chris H, Chris R, Chris Y, Cody B, Contrary Gravy, David M, Dragon, Demon, Dresna, Dylan S, Edward L, Ed R, Endorian 72, Fallon, Gary, Goliath Cleric, Heretic, Hydra Slayer, Izzy, Jacob S, Jake L, James L, Jeremy W, Joshin B, Joel L, Jonathan S, Josh G, Joshua G, Joseph H, Josh B, Josue S, Kale S, Karen C, KYK, Ken S, Kevin P, Kezadies, Kirby, Crafty Matt, Kyle M, Kiriako, Leopold X92, Ladwick B, Lord Kemiak, Lori S, Maelstrom, Michael C, Michael H, Mumbles, Monlo V, Owen D, Paul B, Paul R, Paul Y, Penguin Butt, Pierre B, Published Author, Race W, Rachel S, Ramsey M, Reslick W, Rob M, Rock and Roll Joe, Ron H, Ryan G, Sakura, Scott C, Simon Snapbragger, Sophie M, Son of a Sofa Man, Stetson H, Stephen M, Title Tokens, The Old DM, The Pickle, Theta Tag, Tim Black, Tony M, To the Nails Rules, Tristan W, Tyler N, Tyler R, Xavier H. Boom. All right, well, what did I get? What did I get? Come on. Tell me what I got. Give me my time. How did I do? 1 minute, 4 seconds. I'm always so close. Anyway, I really appreciate all those wonderful people. Now, see, Ed has me under a minute. Ed is fishing for a raise. All right, dude, you're going to get a 25% raise. Just hit me up in Discord, man. 2 mistakes. Under a minute and 2 mistakes. Okay, sweet. All of these awesome, wonderful folks, because they're patrons, they get every single month a new issue of Layer Magazine. Layer Magazine is a monthly D&D publication that I put out to all my patrons. It has in every single issue 2 complete D&D 5th edition adventures with maps designed for virtual tabletop use. You get the image files for the maps, making it easier for you to put it into the virtual tabletop of your choice. You do not have to buy the maps separately. They come with the publication because that's what makes sense. You get things like traps, puzzles, enemy factions, random tables, NPCs, villains, whole slews of content for dungeon masters to use in their games. Reduce your prep time, improve your games. Become a patron today and get Layer Magazine. Whee! My patrons also, we've started giving out, all my patrons get map packs as well. You get a whole bunch of high quality maps that you can use in your games as well, and virtual tabletops with their image files. And we also have, what else? We do bonus adventures sometimes. I think I have a deal in the works to start offering city tiles as well. Little customizable tiles that you can arrange to create city maps. You can customize city maps as well. So I'm working out something right now to make that available to my patrons as well. So lots of cool, awesome stuff available to my patrons. So if you are interested, I'm sure the moderators have posted some beautiful links around here for that. And if you are a dungeon master on a budget, that's perfectly fine too. I have tons of free content over on my website, thedmlair.com. You can go over there. You can get free D&D adventures and lots of other types of resources. Now, the stuff you're going to find for free on the website is not as high quality as what we publish in Lair magazine. Of course, the paid resources, you're going to get a little more polish to it, a little more higher quality. But the free stuff is perfectly functional and usable as well. So if you're on a budget, you can go grab that stuff. So there we go. We're hooking everybody up. If you got money or not, we're going to get you some stuff to help you run your games better. And I think that is, the final plug is we are doing a Beat the Boss thing tonight. The way Beat the Boss works is this is a hit point bar right here. I'm the boss currently, and you do damage to me by subbing, tipping, and cheering. And once we kill 5 bosses, you will trigger a giveaway. It'll be a D&D book of your choice if you are within the US, or if you're outside the US, we'll get you some back issues of Lair magazine so you can use that stuff as well. So 5 bosses, and if you deliver the killing blow to the boss, I'm the boss right now, but if you kill me, then your name goes up there and then everybody gets to kill you. So that's how we do that tonight. So giddy up. How do you cheer? Moderators help him. There's a button somewhere. Oh, and our top cheerers and tippers and gifters get their names over here on the screen too. It's kind of hard to see it now because it's light out, but once it gets dark out, you'll be much, then it gets, you can't see all that light behind there. It'll be easier to see your name. So just putting that up there too. All right, let's take a look. We are going to do questions. Throw your questions at me. My moderators will get to the questions. Oh, by the way, for the giveaway, if we trigger a giveaway, you don't have to buy anything for the giveaway. Like, anybody who is here at the end of the stream today is eligible for the giveaway if we get that thing triggered. So I just want to make that clear. No buying necessary. If you're present at the end of the stream, you get entered in for a chance to get the giveaway. So that's how that works. Keep throwing your questions over there. I do want to check out, so Penguin Butt sent me some news items. And we're going to take a look at some of these news items, see if there's anything interesting here. So the first thing, apparently, let's go over here to Wizards of the Coast website. Let's just take a look at some news items. Let me go over to this screen right here. Ooh. Apparently this is the week of legend lore. It's the week of legend lore. Okay, so I don't know what that means. All this week we're gonna get some stuff. Okay, that's spectacular. So yeah, it's legend lore. I'm assuming we're getting legends. There's a video I won't watch. Or they're just giving us a whole bunch of announcements or something. I don't really know what that is at first glance. All right, so the first look at The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Oh, I think that's their new module that's coming out. It's a Feywild themed adventure storyline. It's a module. It's not a storyline, it's a module. We're not reading a book, we're running a module. Let's take a look at that. Unofficial project page. The Witchlight. Ooh. Adventure by Wizards RPG team. Yeah, okay. Something wicked this way comes. A wicked whimsical adventure for the world's greatest role-playing game. Okay. Again, it's not a storyline. It's a module. It's a module. It's for running a game. You're not reading a story. Okay, so you have to watch a video to find out what it's about, apparently. So this still doesn't tell us what it is. Okay, we have to go to a video. I wonder, you know what? I wonder if Amazon, what is it called? What's the name of it again? The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Let's see if Amazon tells us anything more interesting. Hold on a second. I can't do that. Let's see. What is it called? The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Let's just see if Amazon gives us more information than Wizard's own website gives us. I'm just curious. I don't want to watch a video to get simple information about a book. No, that's not it. Where is this thing? Yeah. No, it doesn't tell us anything. No. Don't have any information about it. All right. So we got nothing. It's just, there you go. It's a book coming out. I can't tell you anything about it. Yeah, there actually is, Mr. Gorks. There is somebody else prepping to release a 5e module set in the Feywild. Yeah. And it's coming out in a couple months, hopefully. If everything goes according to plan, which it never seems to, you know. But so far, we've had delays, but things aren't too bad. Does it tell us what levels it's for? I mean, there was some place where it said it was like a level 1 to 10, level 1 to 12, 1 to 8. It was something like that. The adventure got leaked, so Wizard of the Coast had a big event to announce it to try to get ahead of it. Oh, really? It did get leaked? Where did it get leaked? It's a 1 to 8 adventure. Where did it get leaked? Can I find real information somewhere else? Fantasy Grounds. Oh, what? They turned the switch on? They made it available for purchase before they were supposed to? Is that what happened? I could totally see somebody accidentally just like, yeah, I uploaded it. Okay. Oh, pre-order? Oh, so if you pre-order it, you automatically get it and you have access to it as opposed to like actually being a pre-order. It just gives you instant access. I can see somebody screwing that up. Exactly. Everything you need to break your game. They put the pre-order up early. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, somebody, that's not cool. I feel sorry. Whoever made that mistake, they probably, something horrific happened to them. Hopefully they just got written up and yelled at, you know, but good gravy. That's the type of little tiny mistake that like people could lose their jobs over because people are jerkwads. You know what I mean? And you could have somebody with a stellar record of performance at a company, and they make one small little mistake, like putting an adventure up early, and then they're like, you know, we need a scapegoat, and Wizards is pissed at us, so somebody has to pay for this, and sorry, it's you. That's the sort of thing that happens at companies, and it's infuriating. I don't know that happened. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it would not surprise me. Okay. So there was nothing there. So Penguin Butt, thank you for the link. There was no information to be found on that site about that game. Oh, here's another link. Let's see if we have more information here. Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos. What's this? Upcoming D&D release set in Magic the Gathering world of Strixhaven. Okay, what is it though? I don't know what it is. Is it a campaign setting? Does anybody know if it's a campaign setting? See, why should I have to ask chat about what the book is? It's a campaign setting. Thank you. Why? Doesn't it just say it? It would be so easy. Where can I buy it? Why would I want to buy it? You haven't told me what it is. Okay, I need to keep moving on. This is the type of, okay, so as a communicator, as a writer, for my day job, I used to be on a professional communications team. This is the sort of thing that frustrates me, you know? The very information, the very basic information that your potential customer wants to know, and it's not readily available, you know? Eric from Phoenix, thank you for the Prime, sir. Eric from Phoenix has helped to kill our boss a little bit there. Because shush, that's why. Mr. Gorks, I'm just asking the basic questions, you know? Like, if I'm trying to sell a product, why do I make people dig around on the internet to even find out what it is? Like, I understand you're not going to give out tons of details, but you want to tease people. You want there to be mystery about it, but you can give me some basic information. Unearthed Arcana is also releasing Mages of Strixhaven. Oh, we've already done that. We looked at this. We looked at this a couple weeks ago. The Mages of Strixhaven. We got that. So we did a read through of that last Tuesday. That took us 3 hours too. What was our final conclusion? I think we thought this was fairly okay. I think I was okay with most of this. There were a few things I thought were like crazy overpowered. And everything now these days heals or gives temporary hit points. It's their new kick. Like everything gets temporary hit points. Is that the one, guys? Am I thinking of the right one? Glad Clear thought I was a load of crap. Yeah, there's always some OP stuff. Yeah, there always is. Yeah. If you have to search for it, it gets you interested. Business 101. Okay, maybe, but I would, that just creates friction though. It creates friction between the customers, you know? If you have to search for it, you get interested. No, I would reverse that. If I'm interested, I will search for it. But if you haven't made me interested enough, I'm not gonna go searching for information for it. You know, like I have to have a certain level of interest before, but if you tell me what it is, that might get me interested. And then I might go on from there. So I don't know. I see that a little bit differently. That's not business. Whoops. That's my personal, but that's my business emails right there. That's poor customer service in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Where'd my email go? The thing I was looking for. There it is. Dark Alliance. Okay, so Dark Alliance, we know about Dark Alliance. It's a video game that's coming out. Oh, it's not suitable for all. Oh, okay. Whoops. I should not. I have small impressionable eyes. Dark Alliance is I think it's similar. It's similar to the Dark Alliance games that came out like maybe 10 years ago. It's just like it's like an RPG hack and slash type game-ish maybe or something. That's my understanding of it. I think there's a beta of it out that people were trying or something too. That came out like a while ago. Let's see. Expanding Dungeons and Dragons. They're gonna start coming out Dungeons and Dragons in different languages. Sweet. Wizards of the Coast resumed direct control over localized versions of D&D in French, Italian, German, and Spanish. I think that they had, somebody was telling me about this. Somebody was telling me how they did this. Like, I forget what they were telling me. For a while, the D&D, no, it was Pickle. Pickle, are you still here? Weren't you the one that was telling me that for a while you couldn't find in French any of the D&D books because they had pulled the licensing and they just weren't available or something like that? Yeah, I think that's what they were saying. I think it was. I'm not sure. I don't know if they're still here, but if you are, maybe you can confirm. I think they were saying that like for a while the licensing got pulled and they could not get the books in French, and so they had to get them in English or something. Which they speak English, so it's not a problem. But yeah, there was some licensing thing, and so now they're like, we're gonna take it over and stuff and start making them again. So I think that's what that's all about. What is this? So there's a Dragon Talk on Twitch TV. No, not gonna look at that. Online events. Oh, here's some Morris's unofficial news. Marvel are, oh, this was actually interesting to me. There's gonna be a Marvel RPG coming out. My wife just brought me something. Oh, thank you. She just brought me some meat sticks. Check this out. Whoops, that's the wrong button. My wife just brought me some meat sticks. So my wife went out with her sisters shopping, and apparently they got meat sticks. And but wait, here's the best part. They even left me a couple. They left me a couple meat sticks in here. They didn't get me a package of meat sticks. They got themselves a package of meat sticks, and they left me a couple. I am grateful. I'm not complaining. I'm happy to get some meat sticks. I just think it's funny. Okay, so the Marvel RPG, I was reading about this in a different announcement, I think, and I've always liked the idea of a Marvel RPG game. I don't know, like, if this is like, I don't know if it's good or bad or whatever. I played a Marvel RPG game back in my college days for a little bit with one group, and I don't remember enough of the details about it to know if I liked the game system or not. I know it was fun. I guess what I didn't like about Marvel RPG is that your characters were kind of static. They didn't gain powers much at all, which makes sense in a Marvel-ish superhero game because that's just kind of how they work. But coming from D&D, where you are always leveling up and gaining powers and stuff, it was really different. You know what I mean? But anyway, this looks interesting. RPG Champions. Oh, is that the name of a game system? I don't know what it was that we played, honestly. I have no idea. All I know, one of my defining memories from that game was that I had created I had created this irks me to this day. The character that I had created, I was a player. I wasn't the game master. I was a player. The character I had created was basically a spy type. I could change my appearance to look like anything that I wanted to look like, any person, humanoid and stuff like that. Change my voice. I could change all of these things. Huh? Me trajo. Oh, sorry, English. She brought me hummus and chips now. Mi amorcito, voy a comer después del stream. Y la cerveza también después. She heard me talking about the meat sticks, and now she brought me like a pack of beer and some pita chips and a thing of hummus. What was I saying? Oh, that's right. Now she's taking it away. What did I do? Crap, I lost my train of thought now. Oh, my character was a spy type. I could change my appearance and all that kind of stuff. And the whole idea was to be able to slip in behind enemy lines, do stuff, convince people, that type of thing, you know? And in my, there was like some sort of, it wasn't charisma, but it was the equivalent of charisma. It was as high. I rolled a nat 100 when I was rolling ability scores, because ability scores in that game went from like 1 to 100 or something. Anyway, I got a 100 on my one of my ability scores, and I designated it as the equivalent of charisma. I don't remember what it was. So I had super high ability scores in like being able to convince people, talk to people, persuade people, and that sort of thing. And most of the game, that ability of mine didn't really come into play. It was mostly a lot of combat and stuff, which I'm fine with. I enjoy combat, you know. But the one time that I remember where that ability really came into play and I had a moment to shine, so to speak, we were trying to, like, there were some truck drivers or something outside the enemy base, and I was trying to like sweet talk them or convince them, or persuade them of something. I don't remember what. And essentially what happened is that I role played it out. I told them kind of like what the story was and all that kind of stuff. And the dungeon master, he listened to what I said, and he's like, no, they're not gonna believe that. And that's it. And then they fought us. And I'm just like, okay, but dude, I have a super high ability score. I didn't get to make a dice roll on that, you know, to see if somehow that, you know, my super persuasiveness. No, you just had a bad argument, therefore it didn't work. And I was just kind of like, dude, that's not cool, man. That really sucks. Like, I know that as the player, I might not have been very persuasive in that moment, but my, you know what I mean? It was one of those moments of using the player's ability scores as opposed to the character's ability scores. But at the same point, when my buddy's like fighter type was throwing punches and beating stuff up, he's a scrawny individual as a player, super scrawny, never went to the gym a day in his life, I guarantee you. And they didn't, when he was throwing punches and breaking down doors and stuff, they didn't have him in real life going up to a door and trying to break down a door or throw a punch or break something. No, he got to roll dice. And then, but I didn't. I had to simulate it in real life. So it's kind of like, oh, that sucks, you know? I remember that though. It's interesting because a lot of times when you have those crappy experiences and you know how something feels, you know what I mean? That really benefits you in the future, in so much that as a dungeon master, I'm sensitive to that and I'm aware of that sort of thing, you know what I mean? And that helps me to just, you know, not do stupid things like that because my players probably won't like it, you know? All right, let's see. Anyway, this is coming out. Let's see if there's any other news items. We'll get to the questions in just a little bit. I don't have a whole lot here going on, I think, with the news. What is this? Jim Ward's original Deities and Demigods manuscript is on auction at eBay. At the time of its writing, it's at $11,000. Wow. This may be one. Oh shoot, you guys can't see my screen. I'm sorry. Let me change that. This may be one of the most historical items you can buy from Jim's collection. I'm not familiar with James Ward. He must be an influential early father of D&D or something, I'm assuming, right? You can buy from Jim's collection. It was the original manuscript for the popular TSR handbook titled Deities and Demigods. The original manuscript, wow. Released in 1980 by TSR Hobbies. Yeah, I got it. It includes a letter from Jim himself authenticating the manuscript and sharing a little backstory about it. Oh, that sounds cool. It is being sold as found in the original cardboard box it was stored in. Nice. Jim worked at TSR in Lake Geneva for 20 plus years. He's also the creator of Gamma World, the first role-playing game in the post-apocalyptic genre. Oh wow, he sounds like a pretty big name that I... Oh, somebody put up a photocopy? Oh, he runs first edition on Twitch? Oh, wait, he's still around? Oh, nice. Cool. He's one of the founders of the Greyhawk setting. Oh, that is so cool. We should raid him if he's on at the end of tonight's stream. That'd be so cool. Update. The auction has been taken down as Jim Ward had discovered it is a photocopy, not his original script. Okay, so just erase everything I just said. It was a photocopy, not the original script. You can't actually go get this. So many people asked about the copy issue. I took back the manuscript to check it out. I discovered to my horror, all the pages were photocopied. Apparently, when TSR finished editing the manuscript and I asked for a copy, they sent me back a photocopy and I didn't know it. Oh. So in evaluating the worth of the manuscript, you have to ask yourself if buying a personal copy is worth it. I have taken down the eBay listing and we'll be putting it up again tomorrow with the correction listed in it. Oh, so Jim is the one who listed it. He's the one who listed it, but then took it down because it wasn't the original, it was a photocopy, and now he's gonna put it back up. I'm sorry for the honest mistake. I wasn't trying to trick anyone. I thought it was my original. How did that get discovered though? Oh, I bet, well, somebody interesting. Maybe somebody who worked at TSR knew about the photocopy, and then when he put it up as the original, they were like, yo, Jim, check this out, dude. That's not the original because we photocopied it. And Jim's like, what? What the crap? I could see that happening. Drumish? No, I've never heard of that. His channel is old school D&D. Okay, let's go see if we can find him. We're gonna try to find him right now. Stop auto playing. Old school D&D. Old school. Got caps on. D&D. Old school D&D. 373 followers.
And
okay.
I am an orc.
Don't stop.
That's all you
auto playing. There you go. Old school D&D. And we're gonna raid him the next time he's on and we're on. I don't know when he's on, but we'll do some raiding. Founding father of the gaming hobby, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a follow if you care to. All right, let's go back. Okay, cool. And let's see if there's any other news information here. Critical Role's new show, Xandria Unlimited. What about it? What about it? They have a new show. They're launching a new 8-week D&D 5e campaign on June 24th. That's next week. Called the Xandria Unlimited. It's an 8-week campaign. They play every week, right? What do they play on? They play on Thursdays, right? Is that right? I don't know. 8 weeks. So it's kind of like a one-shot campaign. If you play every week, you're gonna get through probably about 2, maybe 3 levels in 8 weeks. So yeah, they're just kind of doing like a little one-shot thing. It's an 8 episode mini campaign. Yeah, little mini campaign. Cool. That's probably easier for them to produce than a full campaign too. Did they just finish up a campaign or something? They probably just finished up a campaign and now they're just doing a little mini campaign as a break while Mercer figures out the next big campaign, right? Yeah, that's probably what they're doing. He needs some time to get the next big one all worked up and ready for them. Yeah. And so they're doing a little mini things to kind of fill in the gap. Yep. That totally makes sense. That's exactly how to do it. It's 1.7 million viewers for the last episode of campaign 2. That's crazy. Nobody, like, network televisions would kill for that amount of viewers. Holy crap. Do you know how much their sponsorships, the sponsors that Sam Riegel does those amazingly hilarious ads for? Those sponsors must just shell out some dough, dude. That's crazy. Imagine the reach, especially if it's an endemic ad. Oh, the reach. Crazy. That's like Super Bowl. It's like, you know, it's like you have like Bud Light. They're like, well, you know, what do you guys want to do? You want to do like Super Bowl ad this year? You know what? Actually, you guys hear the Critical Role? The executives at the table are like, no. Yeah, we should do the Critical Role ad instead of a Super Bowl ad. Really? Yeah, trust me. That's crazy. That's awesome. I'm happy that they're being super successful. They're doing amazing stuff for our hobby too. It's really cool. Let's find an unannounced Wizards of the Coast project was hinted at by Ray Winnegar. Oh, it was hinted at. Ooh. We're okay, Twitch. Where did Twitch go? There we go. Okay. It was hinted at. Wizards of the Coast's Ray Winnegar has confirmed that another D&D release by James Wyatt will be released in between Witchlight, September, and Strixhaven, November. Holy crap, they are busy. So it's coming out in October. Holy crap. They're just churning out books, if that's the case. Strixhaven was Amanda Hammond's project, while Witchlight is Chris Perkins. That assumes he's not referring to the Feywild accessory kit in September. Okay. A lot of people are asking Q's about the D&D releases for the rest of this year. Yes, Wild Beyond the Witchlight is the Chris Perkins story product I referenced in our development blog. Strixhaven is Amanda Heron's project. We have not announced James Wyatt's project, which releases between Witchlight and Strixhaven. Interesting. Why did we announce Strixhaven so early? Pretty simple. There was no way to release the Strix-related Unearthed Arcana without letting the cat out of the bag. You learn a lot about these products in the if you go watch their live stream, you learn about them. I wish you'd just write it on a written page. All right, I think that's the end of our news. Yeah, there we go. All right, I think we're gonna go on to questions then. Oh, James Wyatt wrote the Eberron novels? Oh, that's the man. That's the dude I want to shake his hand. I'll be like, dude, you're awesome. Wait, the novels or the book? The campaign book? Which one are we talking about? If he's the dude that's like behind Eberron that helped with the campaign setting that was published a year or something ago, I don't know. That dude. All of it? He was involved in all of it? Oh yeah, that guy is the bomb. He's like my hero. He helped. My whole team worked on publishing it, but he published the campaign setting like every campaign setting in the world should ever be published. How it should be organized, the information it should contain, all of that stuff. It was so good. Every campaign setting should look at the Eberron campaign setting as the gold standard of how to do a campaign setting, and then just emulate that formulaically. They're on your shelf now. Oh, he did novels too? He wrote novels too? Oh, nice. That's cool. Crimson Rockstar, welcome. Yes, you missed all of the cool stuff. No, just kidding, dude. You're cool. He's like, oh, son of a goddamn. I'm gonna go watch some, I don't know, Call of Duty, people shooting each other's faces or something. All right, I'm gonna close all these tabs over here. Get all that stuff closed. All right, beautiful. We'll get to questions here in a second. Really quick, want to remind folks, if you're looking for D&D products, Dungeon Master resources that you can use in your games, You can get lots of free stuff over my website, thedamnlayer.com. We have entire D&D adventures over there. We have monsters, puzzles, traps. We have lots of content over there, completely free for you. And there's a newsletter you can sign up for to get it delivered to your inbox. You can get discount codes on the DM Layer store, where you can get back issues of Layer magazine and stuff like that. So lots of cool stuff on my website, free stuff for you. You can't beat that. If you're looking for high quality premium Dungeon Master resources though, I recommend checking out Layer magazine. It's a monthly publication that I do for my patrons. You can check that out at the link right there. It contains also D&D 5th edition adventures with maps ready to go for virtual tabletop use as well. So every single month my patrons get that. Very, very cool stuff. So you can check that stuff out if you're interested in getting some resources to help you run your games. All right, now let us do some questions. How do you use an army of regular soldiers to stop a party of level 6? Have a lot of them? Have them use arrows? Action economy? I also think that regular soldiers, you're going to have, a lot of them are probably just going to be like the guard stat block, but you're going to have a lot of veteran troops as well. You're also going to have people that would be like use the veteran stat block or the knight stat block, CR3s. And you're also going to have some wizards probably thrown in there, just the standard mage or an archmage. So you're going to have, I also think the other thing I think too is if you have, imagine fantasy world that has adventurers that get to high levels and stuff like that. I think a hallmark of any fantasy army is not just going to be the grunt soldiers that go out and get the job done. You're also going to have elite strike forces. You're going to have the Navy SEALs, the Green Berets of your fantasy army. And who composes the Navy SEALs and the Green Berets and all those sorts of cool elite units in a fantasy army? Former adventuring groups that might be level 10, level 15, etc. They could very well be part of an army. And why are they there? Well, they're there for when you run into increased threats, such as a dragon or another adventuring party like your level 6 adventuring party. So you're not just limited to the grunts, the CR 1/4, or even the veterans at CR 3. You might have several different strike forces that work for that army as well that can be called upon when the army runs into a very powerful group that is, destroying a lot of their soldiers. So that's something else to consider. It's not just the grunts, right? Bring out the big boys. This is a fantasy world. Like this is not a new thing. It is not a new thing for an army of mostly low-level fighters to come across an elite strike force that's just destroying them all. That's happened many, many times. Generals know that there's a possibility of that. They come prepared. They have their own elite strike forces that they can dispatch quickly to counter the adventuring party who's taking out the army. So I think the solution to some of these things is just to kind of think through it logically. Be like, if this were actually a real thing happening in the world and you had, how would armies react to this? Well, this isn't the first time this has happened. They'd be prepared. How would they prepare? And that, what I just went over, is one of the ways they would prepare. There's other things you could do too, but that's just something that comes on the top of my head. Predator? Oh yeah, Predator. You just have like just a crazy powerful mage who's got like, an upscaled blight, finger of death or something, and they're just like from a quarter mile away. Which one's their cleric? They have like arcane eye going. Which one's their cleric? Ah, there's their cleric. Okay, their cleric's toast. Uh-oh, the bard is casting Revivify on the cleric. Okay, the bard's dead. Is anybody else over there gonna cast Healing Word or Revivify or anything? Nope, doesn't look like it. You just have a fighter. Looks like we have a fighter and a barbarian and a ranger. Okay, boys. All right, I got the healers. Oh, that's a caster. All right, we got the wizard. We got the wizard too. All right, the cleric's dead, the bard's dead, the wizard's dead. Move in, boys. It's time to clean up the mess. Yeah, you totally would be like that. Totally like from a half a mile off, from a pocket dimension, from the ethereal plane. You know what I mean? Like, why would you fight fair? you know, and when they're decimating, just destroying your soldiers. No, dude, snipe them. Do your all the stupid little combo tricks that you read on Reddit, where you have the warlock with the crazy long range on Eldritch Blast riding in the backpack of his familiar because he's a gnome and he's like a half a mile above and he's just like doing crazy damage down below. All that stuff. Roll out the red carpet, man. Welcome them to the world of fantasy games where the Dungeon Master can do the same stuff. Yeah. Penguin Butt's like, this is what I gotta do for my games. This is totally what I gotta do. Where, my stupid OBS. There we go. Got that. Gotta get this stuff squared away. Did you hear about the rumor Wizards of the Coast might be developing a virtual tabletop? What are your thoughts? No, I didn't. I have heard that D&D Beyond is working on a virtual tabletop, and they are not the same company. And I'm very excited about D&D Beyond's virtual tabletop. Once that gets out there, baby, I will just be like, okay, roll 20, goodbye, D&D Beyond. Woo! Yeah, I'm so looking forward to that. I don't know how long it's gonna take them. Is it gonna come out while we still have 5th edition? Let's hope so. But I'm looking forward to that. As a new Dungeon Master who runs a module for new players, new Dungeon Master, new players, should I include official extra material specifically made for that module, or do you think it could be too overwhelming? You do what you feel is best for your group. I don't know your players, I don't know you. If you feel that for you, it's too overwhelming as a Dungeon Master, then don't do it. If you think it might, listen, I can guarantee you, new players are going to be overwhelmed with the base game. They're new players, they've never done it before. It's already a huge thing for them to take in. If you start putting on additional content, more things on top of it, it's even more for them to be overwhelmed with. So my gut tells me, new Dungeon Master, new players, keep the core books, dude. And obviously your module. Just stick to the core stuff. I wouldn't allow splat books. I wouldn't allow any extra material. You know, until you get to like level 3 or something and you all have a really good feel for the game and you're feeling more confident and your players understand the game mechanics better, I would definitely restrict things, you know, rules and rule sets allowed and stuff like that. My cat wants attention. To make your life easier, to make your players' lives easier. Otherwise, the complexity, there's a lot of complex stuff to begin with, and you start adding on new rules and options and stuff, and things can get really complex really fast. So for a new Dungeon Master, new players, I would keep it simple so you get the feel of things and then start adding some more stuff in. What if D&D Beyond requires you to incorporate Tasha's in everything you use on their VTT? They're all optional rules. You just disallow them. You can turn them off. If they required it, I don't think they would do that. That's a logic. I don't think they would change to make it required. So I think it's a question that'll never happen. If it does, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Do you actually roll for random encounters, or do you decide what creatures and when you will use in advance? Both. Sometimes I'll just roll for a random encounter and then I'll just use that random encounter. I hate doing that though. I would really rather prefer creating an interesting encounter in advance. I've shown this before. I'll show it again. I'm going to show you the encounter that I ran for my Ancient Dragon game this last weekend. So let's go over here. There might be some spoilers, Zack, because I'm going to show you a tab over here. So I have this tab up here that's random encounters and points of interest. So this right here, these are random encounters that I have made for levels 5 through 10, and I made up 6 countryside random encounters, And one of them involved a unicorn and some vampires, and the vampires had stolen a legendary blade weapon from the unicorn, and the unicorn asked the players to help him get it back. That was the random encounter. That was a random encounter that was designed, that I designed for them. And they came across the unicorn in a glade or charging across the countryside, he had foam on his coat. The unicorn stumbled and fell, and the players rushed over to help. And then the unicorn was like, yo, people stole my sword. Can you help me get it back? My glade is unprotected. I want to go back and protect my glade if you guys can help me. And then they went and helped them, and they got the blade back, and it was really good. But that was a random encounter for me. So it was a little tiny, it was a mini quest or something, but it was a random encounter. And on this page, there's a whole bunch of other random encounters. But here's the thing. Obviously I made this myself. I put some story behind it. I put something there besides just the type of random encounters that I hate are the ones like in Xanathar's that just list monsters. It lists the number of monsters. There's no information there. Now, for me, I would need to create a story around those, which I can do. That's fine. So I do create these random encounters with story behind them. But here's the thing too. If you go over to my game session notes, in my game session notes for this last weekend, here's my session planning. Here's some stuff that I planned that would probably happen. Now, there's always a chance that the players go off and do something totally different, so I'm not forcing them to do these things. But based on what they were doing and stuff, I figured it was pretty probable they would do X number of things. They were going to do magical travel back to Waterdeep. Okay, cool. That magical travel failed. They ended up too far south near Daggerford. Now, they actually didn't end up doing anything in Daggerford, so there was some information that they did not get while they were near Daggerford. So that never happened. That whole part I highlighted never happened. They never found out about this ship that was heading to the Moonshae Isles. So a lot of this stuff didn't happen because they skipped past it. That's just what happens in the game. However, this encounter on the road was literally planned. That encounter with the unicorns I had planned. It was going to happen. Now, let's pretend that my players decided not to do magical travel and they wanted to hoof it. Well, that's fine. That random encounter happened somewhere else. That's perfectly fine. My point is that I planned it out. I wanted there to be an encounter on the road while they were traveling. So I went to my 6 encounters on the countryside that I had planned out. I picked the one that I thought was most interesting, that I was most excited to run. There was another one that was very close. I was deciding between 2 of them that I thought were really, really cool when I picked the unicorn one. There was another one that I was like, oh, I want to do both of these, but I'll do the unicorn one. The other one will be there. It'll be there. I can always level it up and have it happen later too, you know? So I picked it. I'm like, this is cool. We're going to have this happen. You know, they can go do a thing on their way back to Waterdeep, you know, and that's what happened. So in that case, I totally planned it. Sometimes I just roll on tables and I figure it out. It's not my preference though. I prefer there to be a little bit of planning and thought behind it. But tables have their place. They do. All right, let's go over to this right here. Moderators, could you enter that question into the spreadsheet and put a timestamp? 55 minutes is the timestamp. Thank you. You're very welcome, Eric. Yeah, you know, the interesting thing is it doesn't take a whole lot of time to work these out, and these pay dividends in the future. These random encounters, like I only have 2. I have these random encounters right. Oh, I'm not showing you my screen. I made these a while ago, and I've used a couple. I've used a couple of the random encounters for when they were in the city, and then I've used only one of the random encounters when they're in the countryside. And I've had these around for at least 6 months, out of game, you know. But they'd pay dividends, and I have cool things ready to go when I need them. And I could, if I wasn't planning a random encounter, but I suddenly needed one, I have them here ready to go, and I can just use them. And I also have something called a point of interest, which I haven't used this one yet. Zack, don't look at this. I have a Morkoth just floating out there somewhere. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. This is essentially a whole adventure in and of itself, but I haven't fleshed anything out. At some point, I'm probably going to have the players come across this Morkoth just floating out there, and then they may or may not investigate it. I don't know if they will or not. It's one of those, it's a point of interest. It's an optional thing. They might just be like, nope, this is a detour, we're not going here, and they'll just walk away. Or they might go in there and explore it, you know, and there's some loot in there and crap. So, but I just make these things. They're interesting for me to make, and sometimes they come in handy. Sometimes you never use them, but that's okay. You know, the act of creating these things as a dungeon master is like half the fun of the game. You know, I get just as much enjoyment out of creating these things and prepping as I do actually running the game. Loot and crap. Yes. By the way, folks, don't forget that we have the beat the boss going on right here. If you kill the boss 5 times, you will trigger a giveaway of a D&D book, or if you're not in the US, then you can win some back issues of Lair magazine. So where is I lost my stuff. Okay, I'm clicking the wrong thing here. A player in our party asks a lot of questions. Sometimes the inquiries goes on and bogs the session down. The DM is aware of it and does plan on talking to them about it. Should I try talking to them about it instead of the DM, or should I just wait? Dude, Werewolf, there's nothing wrong with helping the dungeon master have these conversations. Like, you might even just say, yo, dungeon master, have you talked to him yet? No, not yet. Hey, I can help you out. You want to do it together? Sometimes, you know, sometimes these, I don't know your dungeon master. He might be cool and he might be perfectly comfortable having that conversation. But sometimes these conversations can be awkward and difficult for people to do. And so having some backup, having somebody else to just help you out in a very non-confrontational way. You don't want to be like, we're teaming up on him. You don't want to be all like that, right? But sometimes just having somebody else with you to have what could be a difficult conversation is beneficial. And your dungeon master, at the very least, if you offer to help your dungeon master and be like, hey, I'm happy to help you have this conversation. At the very least, if you offer it and the dude's like, no, I'm good, thank you though. At the very least, he knows that you have his back and that you're willing to help support him if he feels necessary. You know what I mean? So at the very least, it's a very good thing for you to just offer your support and be like, yo, I can help you if you want. You know, I wouldn't step on his toes. You know what I mean? Like if he's planning on taking care of business, you know what I mean? But it's always good to just show your support and offer to help someone out if they want it, you know. And it doesn't, I mean, we're talking about the dungeon master planning on talking to the person, and the dungeon master is the leader of the group in many ways, even if it's an unofficial position. And so a lot of times the dungeon master historically does take the point on having these types of conversations with players, but it doesn't mean that they always have to be it doesn't mean they're the only one that can have those conversations. Another player could easily have a conversation with another player to help get the game running smoothly again. Just because traditionally the dungeon master is the one that takes that role on doesn't mean that they are the only one that can do that thing. You know what I mean? Even though the dungeon master is the leader of the group in a large way, and they should do that if nobody else is willing to do it. You got to put your pants on and take care of business sometimes, you know. What do you cut wood with? An axe? An axe? For sure, an axe. I think it's time for our cat strike. Let's do a cat strike. Oh, jeez, I got a cat right under my foot and I just stepped on him. Squeaky, squeaky. He's like right under my feet, man. All right, it's cat strike time. So gonna get some cats coming over here. Get some cats. Well, we have 5 customers down here right now. Orange. Oh. All right. I will be back. Orange, go get some snack. We got orange in the box. Oh, here comes little guy. Ed! Ed! Little guy is here. He was just upstairs like crying and my wife was rubbing his belly. We have, how many cats is that? We have 6. We have everybody but little girl. Everybody but little girl is here. Yep, we take in strays that always end up being pregnant. It is it's happened twice now. Both of our mommy cats were strays that we took in that were pregnant and then gave birth. So yeah. Yep. Come for the advice, stay for the cats. They're so much more adorable than I am. I'm gonna go out on a limb and wager that. Non-major nerd, what's up? How you doing? Dan always leaves us. Always leaves us. Well, cat's treats are running out over there. Long-time lurker? Well, dude, what's up? How you doing, man? I'm doing great. More questions. Let's see. Here we go. How do you feel about final boss battles with more than one stage for the boss? I like it. Is there a good tactic? Is this a good tactic for the end of a campaign big bad boss battle? Yes, it is. That was an easy question. Twillet Pyro. I foreshadowed a villain, but my party is trying to chase him. What do you mean, but? The moment you mention a villain, you should expect your party to try to find him. There's no but. That's what happens. That's the way it happens. The moment you mention that there's a big bad guy somewhere, your party's probably going to try to find him. It's going to happen, dude. It's going to happen. That's okay. Like, it shows you that your players are biting your plot hook. The dungeon master just mentioned a bad guy. Oh, let's go find him. Let's go find him. I would much rather have that problem than a group of players who are disinterested in plot hooks and villains that I mentioned to them. So you have a very good problem. The solution to it is to restrict information. If you foreshadow a villain and you say, hey, there's this big bad guy, but they have no idea where to find him or get more information about him, then that kind of, they run into a dead road. But they did learn about one of the big bad's lieutenants that has a base over here who is doing some bad stuff. Well, then if we can't find where the big bad villain is, let's go take out his lieutenant and see if we can get some more information. And then they get the lieutenant, they get another lead. And then they go to the next lieutenant, and then they're taking out the big bad's operations and stuff like that. The next thing you know, you have an entire campaign going. That's your campaign. Taking out lieutenant after lieutenant, working their way up until they finally track down where the big bad is, who he is, and maybe if there's a way to defeat him. So that is the way a campaign unfolds. So the trick, and I haven't even finished your question, the trick is restricting information, but not dead ends. Notice there wasn't a dead end there. They hit the wall trying to find the big bad, and then they were redirected toward a lieutenant, towards something else. So that's the way to do it, right? And if they try to beeline, then you can't beeline, but you can go over here, get some more information. Let me finish your question though. He is meant to be a villain for later, but they already have a name and a place for a contact to the villain. For a contact to the villain. Well, that's fine. They can go talk to the contact. They have a name and a place for a contact. That's great. Go talk to that contact. they'll get some more information. That information doesn't lead them directly to the big bad villain for later. It leads them somewhere else. It gives them a clue, the lieutenant or some other thing they could do in the meantime, right? You, as a dungeon master, you need to restrict information as needed to prevent your players from going right to the final boss, who presumably they're probably not ready for because he's a high CR. It's all about the information. Restrict and give information in such a way that it helps you, direct them in your campaign, Now, if you want to run a complete open sandbox campaign where it's possible for them to go straight to the big bad, you can do that as well. And then you could be totally free with information and they could go right to him, probably TPK and die, or maybe run away with their tails between their legs. Just be aware that many players, especially like new school players, they come to the table expecting that most things they come across in the game world are beatable. And running into the massive big bad who can totally demolish them because they went there too early, but they were able to, that's like an old school way of running the game, and old school players will be more aware of like, holy crap, dude, I don't think we're ready for that. Let's not go there. Whereas younger players growing up in video games where everything's customized for your level and stuff like that, they might be operating under a different understanding of like the unspoken rules. And they might assume that because we know where to find him and stuff, we can go beat him now. And that might not be the case. So just be aware that there's a different mentality between different types of players, and your players might think that because you told them where to go, it means they're ready for him, and they might not be. So just be aware that people have different perspectives and ways of interpreting and thinking about those things, and there could be a misalignment of expectations there, and your players might get pissed when they go and get destroyed by a big bad they weren't ready for. And then you could be like, well, you guys weren't ready, you went there early. And then they're going to be like, yeah, but you told us where to find him. Didn't you think we're going to go there? Well, you should know better. How are we going to know better? So if you guys have different outlooks and ways of looking at things, you could run into a little bit of friction there. You know what I'm saying? Just be aware that exists, My bard player has Leomund's tiny hut. Whee! My players have that too. And of course he uses it daily. And he's intelligent. He is intelligent to use it daily. Why wouldn't you use it daily? Let me see. A magical hut that lasts for 8 hours allows us to complete long rests without being interrupted. Yes, please. May I please have some more? They're intelligent to do that. Sometimes even in the middle of a dungeon. Yep, they'll do that too. Do you have some advice to make their long rests a bit more interesting, riskier, challenging? You're absolutely right, I do. First of all, if they put up a tiny hut in the middle of a dungeon, guess what happens over the course of 8 hours? A random patrol spots the tiny hut. It is opaque. It is a black, opaque dome. This is a fantasy world. They will assume it's magic. People are not stupid. They know magic. This is a black dome. This is not good. I might not know what this is, but it's not good. Let's go tell the boss. And the boss maybe has some more experience in the world, and they're like, okay, you know what? I don't know what this is, but get everybody together. Get everyone together. Gather up the entire dungeon. All right. We're gonna have to take care of business. I don't know what this is, but we're gonna investigate. And then there's two things they can do. They might just set up camp. The whole dungeon just surrounds the tiny hut, but around the corners, right? You don't want to be, as soon as an arrow or a spell comes out of that tiny hut and attacks them, because the players can cast out, but enemies can't cast into it. As soon as something comes out to hit somebody, they're going to try to shoot back. They're going to see that their arrows bounce off from it, and they're going to be like, okay, we can't win. They're going to retreat around corners, and they're going to wait it out. The entire dungeon has been alerted, and they are waiting it out. If there is a spellcaster with this spell magic, they're going to take that down, right? Otherwise, you have the entire dungeon gathered around the hut because it's clear we have intruders at this point, and they're waiting for the tiny hut to go away. And then when the tiny hut goes down, your players are going to face the entire rest of the dungeon that has been alerted and gathered up to go against them. That's one option. Option number two, random patrol finds it, tells the boss. The boss is like, what's going on? The boss looks around the rest of the dungeon, finds out that half of his minions have been slaughtered. And he's like, holy crap, we're under attack. And that dome over there, that might have the bad guys in it. From the villain's point of view, the players are the bad guys breaking into his dungeon. And the villain's like, okay, those guys killed half of my minions already. We're not just sitting here. All right, boys, pack up your crap. We're leaving. Then the minions, the bad guys, leave the dungeon and relocate because holy crap, we just got assaulted and lost a whole bunch of stuff. So the bad guys and all of the good loot get up and they walk away. They relocate somewhere else and they're going to get reinforcements and beef up themselves, obviously. That's option number 2. Option number 3 is bad wandering patrol finds the hut. Oh no! Go back, tell the boss. The boss is like, they find all the bodies. Oh, we're under attack. Go over to the next dungeon over and get reinforcements. We need to get reinforcements. We're under attack. Half of our people have been killed. Reinforcements come from the next dungeon over. All right, now we have a whole bunch of people. Now, set up positions around this hut and wait for it to come down. And then when it comes down, we swarm this thing. So what am I doing here? I'm really just role-playing the bad guys. I'm just thinking through logically what would happen over the course of 8 hours taking a long rest. These are 3 potential things that could happen if your players take a long rest in the middle of a dungeon. With Leoman's tiny hut or without Leoman's tiny hut. It doesn't matter. They could do those 3 things in either situation. And that is simply you, the dungeon master, role-playing the enemies, logically thinking what would the enemies do under these circumstances. Having a static dungeon that does absolutely nothing when your players take a long rest in the middle of the dungeon, well, there's only one reason that I would not have my enemies do one of these 3 things or something else that I just described to you. And that's if I had planned the adventure such that I knew they would need a long rest. So if I plan the adventure and I know they'll need a long rest and they go ahead and take one, then I'm probably not going to have the dungeon react to them. And I can justify it, or who knows? I don't even need to justify it. The players will think of a reason why nothing happened. So either I planned it that way, or I know that they got their butts handed to them because I gave them a bunch of challenging encounters. And I know that even if they take a long rest, there's still a bunch of challenging encounters remaining. And it's okay. I'll give you a long rest because I got some nasty stuff planned for you. I might even just beef up the remaining encounters because they took a long rest. And the advantage to that is that I don't have to get the enemies to swarm on them and do all these different things that I explained in the first 3 items. Now, I would definitely occasionally for sure have some of these 3 items, these 3 examples that I explained to you happen. I would definitely do that from time to time because once or twice that happens, your players are going to be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't long rest in dungeons anymore. Maybe that's a bad idea. You only got to do that once or twice and have it turn out really bad for the players. Doesn't mean they got to die, but if it happens once or twice and it turns out really bad for them, they're going to start to think twice before they long rest in a dungeon. You know, it just really depends on how you want to play it as a dungeon master, but there's a bunch of options for you. And that's in the middle of a dungeon with or without Leoman's tiny hut. Now, as far as like using it outside of dungeons when they're traveling and stuff, like I don't really care about that. You know, if they're going to use it every night when they rest, okay, that's fine. The random encounter that I had planned for you won't happen when you're resting. It'll happen while you're traveling or something. That's so easy to avoid. It doesn't really matter. A random encounter doesn't happen at night. It can happen during the day when they're traveling. You know, I'm not too worried about that. So that isn't super impactful. The only time, in my opinion, when you really got to worry about it, or not necessarily worry about it, but you need to be prepared with some things that you can do in response, is when it's long resting in the middle of a dungeon. And then it's just a matter of role-playing your enemies intelligently, using your brain and their brains, and also just deciding as a dungeon master what you want to do in that situation. You're perfectly fine with having there be no consequences for taking a long rest in the middle of a dungeon if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that, you know? Or you could have there be consequences. You could beef up enemies. You could have reinforcements come. Any number of things. when I design adventures for my groups, and when I publish adventures and Lair magazine and stuff like that, we have random encounters at the beginning of every single adventure. And those random encounters are there expressly for if the party decides to take a long rest in a dungeon and they weren't supposed to. You take those random encounters and you have them be reinforcements that come. You use them to beef up other encounters that are already in the dungeon, etc., etc., etc. So there's a very strategic reason that I provide those random encounters in the things that I publish, in Lair magazine, on my website, other stuff like that, and in the adventures that I design for my games. So those are all very strategic. They're there for a reason. All right. I'll put this over here. I answered that. Kazmokin says, "Hey Luke, I just saw your 10 feats to give your monsters and I was shocked that the CR mechanic was so broken." It's very, very broken. Yes. "I've been going over all the main books and there are more feats that make things even worse." Yep, that's the way it works. They always release stuff that makes it more broken. Yes. Mr. Crinkle, thank you for the 2 tier 1 gifted subs, man. Really appreciate that. Mr. Crinkle is making a dent on our first boss right here. Oh, there we go. There's another dent. Oh, nice. Very, very nice. We're killing that sucker. Appreciate that, dude. If we kill 5 bosses, we get a giveaway tonight. A D&D book of your choice or a back issue of Lair magazine. Gotta kill 5 bosses. I lost my question. Where was the question the dude was asking me? There we go. There are more feats that make it even worse. Yes, you were absolutely right about the power creep. Never convinced about till I saw this video 3 times. Yeah, oh, the power creep is real, dude. It's so real. Yeah. The thing with the power creep in the game is, for me personally, as a dungeon master, it doesn't bother me because I'm just gonna, because I'm experienced, know how to adjust things to account for the power creep. It doesn't personally bother me, and I'm comfortable, adjusting for that. Now, there are some things that are overboard. Let's be clear. There are some things that are just too crazy, and I consider them to be game breaking for different reasons. A lot of times the game breaking things have less to do with power, and it has more to do with invalidating somebody's fun. It takes somebody's fun away. Those are the things, or I mean, it could have to do with power. It might be crazy powerful, but a lot of times sometimes it's crazy powerful, way too powerful. Other times it has to do with invalidating people's fun in different ways. For instance, Ancestral Barbarian is one of the subclasses that I don't allow because it invalidates my fun as a dungeon master. It makes it so that I can only do one thing, attack one player. I can no longer use tactics in my fights. I am locked into doing one thing, and that takes away my fun as a dungeon master. And my fun is important too, just as much fun as the players. And so that's one example of an example of taking away fun and why I disallow that. Other things were just overpowered. Was there a question? I was saying how it usually doesn't bother me too much because I'm gonna make my monsters more powerful. I'm gonna have there be more monsters. I'm gonna give them an extra attack. I give them extra hit points. I usually, not always, but usually prefer to give a monster more DPS, more damage output, an extra attack or something before I give it more hit points, because more hit points just make the battles take longer, and combat in most RPGs, D&D 5th edition and stuff, usually struggle from slow combat. So it's better to give the monster more damage output because that'll actually make the battle faster in a way than more hit points, which just makes the battle slower. So I usually err on more damage before I do more hit points. Although I do both too. It just depends on what I'm going for. But I'm comfortable with changing those mechanics and doing different things, because I've played the game enough, I have a feel for it. But my concern with the power creep and the CR system not working more and more, it never was perfect, and it never will be. And it's hard to account for these sorts of things. I don't really blame the game designers a whole lot because the job they have on their hands is very difficult. You know, how do you create a challenge rating system that guarantees that for any 5 players or 4 players of a whole different variety of character classes and abilities and play styles and how good they are at playing their characters, how good they are at tactics, how bad they are at tactics, how do you account for that? All of the variables in that in a challenge rating system. How you can't account for all of those variables. You can only do the very best you can. So I don't really blame the game designers in all honesty. I'll complain about the challenge rating system. I'll gripe and I'll moan and all that kind of stuff, but they have a hard job. And a challenge rating system that accounts for all those things, that's rough. So I don't really hold that against them a whole lot, you know? So, and as a dungeon master, I can adjust for the power creep. But my biggest concern is for new dungeon masters, folks without the experience. How do they know how to adjust the module or the encounters or the monsters for super powerful players because of the power creep that you get in Tasha's and stuff like that? That's more where my like angst comes from. You know, I'm thinking about the new dudes who are trying to learn to run the game and they're encountering all of these overbalanced powerful crap and they're just like, ah, what do I do? That's more of like what's going here. You know what I'm saying? Bad Wolf, thank you for the prime, dude. I appreciate that. You just put a dent in our boss. I'm almost at 50 hit points, or 50% hit points, I should say. Oh, I scrolled and I paused chat. There it's, wait, oh man. Penguin Butt is terrified of messing up the CR for you guys. Penguin Butt, you are going to be running a level 18 game. You can throw whatever you want at us. If we can't handle it, we deserve to die. I'm dead serious. We are 4 level 18 PCs. If we can't figure it out, and we're all experienced players with very powerful PCs, and we're gonna have some nice magic items, if between the 4 of us using our brains and our experience, we can't figure something out, we deserve to die. So you should feel 100% comfortable throwing whatever you want at us. But by the way, for context, Penguin Butt is going to be running a one-shot game for me and some other of my moderators. Not next Tuesday, but Tuesday, like I think the 29th or something like that. So it's gonna be fun. I know she's nervous and stuff about it, but she's gonna do great. It's gonna be lots of fun. So Mr. Crinkle, thank you so much for the 1,000 bits, dude. I appreciate that. Mr. Crinkle's making a bigger dent in our boss. Is it June 29th? Okay, cool. You're mortified? Don't be mortified. The worst that's gonna happen in Penguin Butt is I'm just gonna, you know, pay you or something and give you more money for running D&D for me. Use Adventurers League modules to start out. They are nice enough to include advice on how to level up and down encounters in the module, plus guidance on how to deal with Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Cool, yeah. Adventurers League modules. I've never looked at any of those. Are those available for free? Can people get those, or do they need to buy them? I don't know. Hey, we have a hype train going. Tazmoken, thank you for the 5,000 bits, dude. Really appreciate that. Tazmoken has killed me. I am now dead. And Tazmoken, it's gonna update. It'll update momentarily. But Tazmoken is gonna be our next boss. Oh no! Oh wait, no wait, he didn't kill me. He left me with 250 hit points left. Oh, there we go. Now we got it. Tazmoken, you almost killed me. You were like that. I was slivered. Oh, and then Fantasy Animal Vegan. That's awesome. Fantasy, that person came along and with a tier 1, killed me. Thank you so much for the tier 1. Really appreciate that. Tazmoken, again, thank you for the 5,000 bits, dude. That's awesome. Omnixar, Oh, 𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐒. Oh, I remember 𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐒. He wants his name back up there. 10 tier 1 subs. Thank you so much, 𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐒. I appreciate that. You just now the boss is below 50%. Fantasy Animal Vegan. I have a feeling that your reign as the boss is not going to last very long. They are gunning for you. Epic kill steal from Fantasy. That kind of was a kill steal. Don't feel bad, Fantasy Vegan Animal. Don't feel bad. 𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐒, thank you for 10 more tier 1 gifted subs, dude. Appreciate that. Oh, there we go. Oh, we did it. You got your name up there, dude. How many bosses is that? You guys have killed 2 bosses now. So we have 3 more bosses to kill. If we kill 3 more bosses, everyone who is at the end of the stream will be eligible for a giveaway. I'm giving away a D&D book of your choice. I will sign it and I will send it to you. Or you can get a back issue of Layer magazine if you're not in the US, because can't do shipping out of the country. It's really hard and expensive. So yeah, we got 3 bosses to go. And 𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐒, dude, 𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐒, are you over on the board to the, yeah, you are. He's a top cheerer. He's got his name right there. He's a top cheerer over here. That's sweet. Mr. Crinkle, he's in the competition too. He's like, dude, I'm gonna get my name up there. All right, 3 bosses left. Yes, 3 bosses. Dragon Son, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? All right, let's hit another question here. Ooh. Helldeer says, I thought about having a multi-layer mega dungeon and are split between having only a few monsters but long travel time. But then again, it feels like a waste of maps. It's a graveyard which was cut for centuries, so it wouldn't make sense to be filled up with stuff. No, I mean, so you're referencing dungeon ecology. So yes, dungeon ecology is a thing. You want it to make sense. However, I would also throw out there that even as a dungeon master, if something doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't mean that your players won't figure out in their own minds why it does make sense. You see, there's this thing out there where players just assume the dungeon master knows everything and has it all together. So if they come across a mega dungeon or something and it doesn't make sense to them, they're gonna sit there and be like, wait a second, it doesn't make sense. They're not gonna say the dungeon master is a moron and doesn't know what he's doing. That's not what they're gonna say. Your players are gonna be like, wait a second, it doesn't make sense. What's going on here? Why doesn't it make sense? There is a reason it doesn't make sense. Let's figure out why it doesn't make sense. And then your players are gonna start conjecturing and coming up with ideas and rationale of why these things exist the way they exist. They're doing the work for you, dude. You can either just let it be and never say anything, or one of their cool ideas as you're listening to them, because you should always be listening to your players when they're talking among themselves, you pick one of their ideas and you're just like, yeah, that's why. You don't tell them, but you've now figured out why things are that way in your dungeon. Players go keep adventuring and stuff, and you, as you keep on planning things, now that you know why things are the way they are, you might put some hints and clues somewhere else in the dungeon as they keep going, and then your players run across those things and they're just like, aha, you see? That's why. I told you that was why. I figured it out. Remember 3 game sessions ago and I was like, this is why it was this way? Well, that's the truth, and that's why it was that way. And this applies to lots of things in the game. You know, introduce a mystery or a concept or a puzzle, something that you don't know the answer to, and your players will brainstorm and figure out answers, and you could just pick one of them. It's perfectly fine to do that. You don't have to have all the answers. Your players can provide the answers for you. So that's the first thing that I'll say in response to that. Well, I had another thought on that too. If you're doing this applies to any, you're talking about having it full of monsters or having it mostly empty with lots of travel time, and if it's empty, it's a waste of a map. So I would say that for any dungeon, it doesn't matter if it's a mega dungeon or just a simple 1-level dungeon, you want there to be empty areas. The empty areas should have points of interest though. So if there's an empty bedroom, there's no encounter in there, there's no monster in there. something else could be interesting in that bedroom. They could find a book with some lore, some information that might be helpful later on in the dungeon. They might find a secret door that leads into a little treasure cache or something. Have there be a point of interest there, something interesting, because remember, the game is made up of 3 different pillars, generally speaking. You have combat, which is your encounters that turn out to be fighting. You have social interactions, which are your encounters that turn out to be talky. And a lot of times you might have a social interaction encounter that turns into a combat encounter as well. But you also have the 3rd pillar, which is exploration. And when you're in a dungeon and you're opening a door and it's empty in there and you go searching around and you find a secret door and you find some loot, that's exploration. And that appeals to a lot of different players. Not all players like combat or talky bits. I have a player, Joe, in my Curse of Strahd game. He loves exploration. And so I need to put interesting points of interest in my dungeons so that he has little things where he's like, yeah, I like this. You know, and so you want to, that's the variety of including those things in your dungeons is going to appeal to lots of players. So just because a room is empty doesn't mean there's not something in there that could be interesting and fun for your players, you know. So that's the other thought I had. So there should be something in each room of interest, whether it's an encounter or a point of interest or something, a little tidbit. It doesn't got to be big. It can be a small little thing that they find that they're like, oh, cool, you know. So that's some advice for you. Hope that helps. Let's see. 𝐑𝐄𝐒 Smoky says, I want to create and publish some adventures, but I don't know which names or monsters are not allowed due to copyrights. Do you have or know where I can find a list of forbidden things? All right. Talk with Ed Robinson on my Discord. Ed Robinson. He is my lead developer. He basically is my copyright SRD guru. He checks over all of my products that I publish to make sure that we are legit. So he's the dude. He has done tons of research, has crap tons of knowledge about SRD, legal stuff, and copyright stuff. So he can help you out. He's not like a lawyer or anything. He can't give you legal advice. This is our disclaimer. This is our disclaimer. Not a lawyer, can't give you legal advice. But he can definitely point you in the right direction and give you some good information. So hit Ed up. All right, Maddie Thing says, I have a group where the campaign is set in a more pre-World War I era. There's electricity and some automobiles. They're telling me they're having a hard time staying in the realm of this era. Any suggestions to keep up with this setting? I need to ask follow-up questions to the players. Why are you having trouble staying in this realm? Why are you having a hard time staying in this realm? I need more information. They need to further define that problem for you. The information right there, if that's all you have from them, is too generic. It doesn't give you enough. Like, I need to know why. What is causing the problem? Once I know more, I need to 5Y it, right? I need to fishbone that baby. Get down to the root cause. Get some more information from them and find out exactly what's causing them to have the problem of staying in that era. You know, they keep slipping back into the fantasy mode, or they keep thinking that they have advanced technology or something. I need to find out why, right? And then I need to, once I get deep dive more into the whys and understand things better, then I need to ask them, okay, what would help you to avoid that problem? Like, what could I do as a involve them in your problem solving? This isn't just for you to walk away with this very vague, high level problem and then be like, oh, I gotta figure out a solution. No. This is a group game. Have your players help, 5Y it down to the root cause of what's going on, and then ask them for possible solutions. What are things that we could do, that I could do, to help you then avoid these things and help you to remain in this era and keep the setting fixed in your mind a little bit better? And they're going to give you some ideas. You can brainstorm and then give you some solutions and stuff. And then collectively as a group, you can go through that exercise, and then you're going to have some takeaways. You'll have some action items, things that you can do then to help your game and help your players you know, stay in that era so they don't slip into fantasy thinking, or they don't slip into thinking that they have like high fantasy or high technology and stuff like that. So I don't have specific advice for you, because I think the actual action steps that you would take are going to be specific to your players and what's causing them to slip out of that setting, if that makes sense. But there's the process, right? There is the process to help you solve that problem. Okay, let's 𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐿, thank you. I think I got you that one. Thanks, dude. Mr. Crinkle, 300 bits. Thank you, sir, for the 300 bits. Appreciate that. He's just like chipped to 𝐑𝐿𝐒𝐿 is sitting at the top now. How many bosses have we killed? I think we've killed 2, right? Have we killed 2? And 𝐑𝐿𝐿𝐿 is sitting there now. Look at them, the big fat beefy boss. Somebody gonna kill him? Is somebody gonna take him out? Somebody can take him out. We've killed 3 now? Oh, nice. Have we killed 3? Penguin Buck, can you do some research? Oh yeah, no, wait. They killed me. Animal vegan, vegetable, vegan, animal, sorry, person was up there. They got killed. Who else was killed? I don't think we've killed anybody else. No, nobody else. We just have 2 we've killed. I'm looking at my history right now. No, we've had 2. Vegetable, vegan, blah, ha, ha, ha. Sorry. My players have decided to walk across the continent. Wow. And I don't know how to create engaging exploration. You don't need to. Should I let them travel in between? I take that back. You can, and you potentially should, but you don't have to. So a little clarification. Should I let them travel in between sessions and have them? No. Run the game at the game table. Unless you have tons of time on your hands. But I run the game at the game table. I don't do offline stuff. If we're playing D&D, we're playing D&D together at the game table. But that's just me, right? That's not saying that you should or should not do things. I'm just saying that's just my opinion on it. Should I let them travel in between sessions and have them roll for complications or not? I would travel during the game, and you could roll for complications, I suppose, but I have a suggestion for you. I do have a suggestion for you. I'll get you through your question first. How far should they be able to get over time, and how can I add stuff in between without them feeling like I am railroading them away from the area? Okay, so how far they should get over time is as far as you want to let them get. Okay, like as far as you want. Let's pretend. Let's do a little exercise right here. I'm gonna show you some stuff here. We're gonna talk about this, and I'm gonna give you some information. I need to pull up a couple things first because I need to. Okay, hold on a second. Actually, hold on a second. Let's find Sword Coast map. I'm gonna pull up a map of the Sword Coast and open this up. Open the image in the new tab. Open image in new tab. Okay, got it. All right, and then I'm gonna share my screen over here with you. All right, so let's pretend this is the map of the Sword Coast. I just pulled up a map I'm familiar with. Let's pretend that your players have decided to go from Luskin here all the... Okay, I'm used to using Photoshop, and the zoom functionality isn't, and the scrolling is not the same as Photoshop. Let's pretend your players have decided to go from Luskin all the way down to which is way down here. They've decided to travel overland, not by, just walking all the way down the Sword Coast. Well, the question is, how long should that take? There are 2 extremes. One, the first extreme. You literally, every day of travel, they could have a random encounter. And this could take you, to walk all this way, could take you, let's just say 5 game sessions, where they're constantly running into things, you're having them have random encounters, you're having points of interest, which is something I'll get into. It's similar to a random encounter, but not the same. And it could take them 5 game sessions to travel from Luskan all the way down to Now, that's one extreme. Here's the other extreme. Yeah, 24 miles a day is your typical travel time if you're on foot. The other extreme is, oh, you guys want to go to Luskan down to Okay, you guys set off, you start traveling. It takes you 2 months to get there, and you have now arrived at What would you like to do? There you go. There's the other extreme. 2 ways you could do it. One, takes a long time in game. They have lots of stuff that happens along the way. The other one happens like that. You just hand wave it and you say you have arrived. It really just depends on a couple things. How interesting do you want the journey to be? Do you want to add points of interest in there so that your players feel like they're having an interesting travel experience? Or is there an adventure waiting for them in and your players just want to get to the adventure because they want to play the adventure and they don't really care about the travel? Well, then you might just hand wave it and have them arrive there like that, and then they can play the adventure. So there are 2 different extremes there. I would recommend something somewhere in between. If every single day of travel you're rolling random encounters and stuff's going on, that's going to take a lot of game time to get there, and it might not be super enjoyable because usually the cool stuff happens at the points. When you're going from point A to point B, everybody knows that point B is where you're finding the adventure when the cool stuff is probably going to happen. The in-between is the time that, okay, we're just traveling. We have these encounters, we're fighting things, but they don't really matter. They're not actually like, the goal. They're not part of the adventure. They're not milestones. We're not getting XP for this. It's not, you know what I mean? The loot is crummy. So that could be a feeling, a sentiment, right? Of the travel. The travel could feel like a waste of time. It could. So my suggestion is to go somewhere in between. Instead of it taking tons and tons of time or just hand waving it and having them be there, have there be a few different points of interest. Now, a point of interest is not necessarily a random encounter. It isn't a random encounter. Example of a point of interest. My Sword Coast Guard group, once upon a time, was traveling somewhere, and they came across a ruined wizard's tower. It was this ruined tower they saw off the road, and they're like, let's go check that out. They investigated this ruined tower, and they found within it a book. It was a magical book. It did some really cool stuff, but they also found out that they discovered some lore about this tower, and this tower disappears every single day at dawn and reappears somewhere else in the world, some randomly determined location in the world. And when my players discovered that, it was a really cool piece of the world history and lore. And the wizard's tower had a name, and the book had a name of the wizard too. And they thought it was really cool to have that lore. First of all, that was really awesome for them. And then it was really cool too because they were so tempted to stay in that tower and get randomly teleported somewhere else in the game world and just see where they ended up. So that was something very interesting. That would be what I call a point of interest. Another point of interest might be a floating island, like just off the ground. There's this massive landmass that's floating off the ground that they see off in the distance, and they're just like, holy crap, a floating island. And then there could be like ropes or something dangling down from it, inviting them to climb up and explore. That's a point of interest. So my suggestion would be that as you're traveling all the way from Luskan down to or whatever it happens to be, have there be 1 or 2 points of interest, cool things that they could find along the way. They're not random. They are things that you plan out to show off parts of the lore of the game world, or just show off how diverse and unique and awesome the world is. Cool things for them to find that will make their game experience enjoyable. And then also, yes, I would have random encounters, which are usually prepared encounters. Things that happen. They don't have to be fights, but they are individuals or creatures or monsters that they come across while they're traveling. I would have a couple of those things happen. That way, as they're traveling, some things do happen. Some things, the points of interest, are very interesting and fun for them. And then there are some combats and fights and stuff. So you're giving them a little bit of that experience, but you're not going overboard so that it feels like it bogs the game down, you know? And that way, that is how you can make travel overland interesting for low-level groups, for high-level groups. They could be traveling a small distance or a long distance. It doesn't matter. You can still use this approach, this process, this system of doing it. Long distance, short distance, you know, a couple random encounters and some points of interest. Now, if you're going super short distances, you might just have one, either a random encounter or a point of interest, one or the other, not both. But if it's a super long distance, then it's reasonable to have a few of each. And then you get the best of both worlds. They still get to their destination, but along the way, they run into some cool stuff and they have some fun, and it expands the world a little bit and shows off different pieces of the world. But there's got to be balance there. The two extremes I mentioned are best avoided. Somewhere in between is a happy balance that will be fun for you and your players, and that's what you want to find. Thank you for the timestamp. Coville, thank you for the prime. I appreciate that. Gothmog, thank you for the tier 1, dude. Appreciate that. You guys you're beating down Omnixar. He's getting beat down up there. Yeah, the downtime session in Xanathar's is very good. I use it in my games. Sage advice doesn't matter. Sage advice doesn't matter. You run your game how you want to run your game. Yes. If you do not want to allow familiars to use magic items, that's it. They don't use them. It doesn't matter what Jeremy Crawford says at your table. Jeremy Crawford is not running your game, ladies and gentlemen. You are. So, if there's a gray area on a ruling and we're not sure how something works, I'll usually have one of my players look up and see if Jeremy said something about it. If there's a gray area and I'm not sure what the proper ruling is, I'll take what he has to say, you know, and a lot of times we'll just roll with it. But if you have a specific thing that you want to be away in your game world, such as familiars not using magic items, that's your prerogative, dude. 100% your prerogative to not allow that. Regardless of what any guru says, you are in control of your game. D&D Scotty, thank you for the tier 1, dude. Gifted sub, really appreciate that. Ed Robinson, oh baby. If Jeremy Crawford were running my game, I'd be looking for another game. He's like, here's the gauntlet. No, have 2 gauntlets. And then Major Nerd's like, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you there. I have a PC who wants to start making poisons. The player handbook and Dungeon Master Guide are very vague on this besides very basic ones. Any advice on allowing PCs to make more complicated poisons? Or yeah, you're probably gonna have to do some homebrew crafting rules if you want to get more specific with that sort of thing. My advice, the only advice I can give you is there should be a time requirement and there should be a gold piece requirement that are appropriate for the strength of the poison they're trying to make. I don't have any specific recommendations for you because I don't get into crafting systems much at all ever in my games. But I can tell you that it's not a bad thing because, especially once you get into the mid levels of the game, the PCs usually have lots of gold and nothing to spend it on. So if somebody wants to craft poisons, then giddy up, there you go. You now have a gold sink for your group, or at least for that character. And the trick obviously is trying to figure out how much gold things should cost. Usually it doesn't matter. Pick a price, okay? If you implement a price for different poisons, and they start crafting them, and you find out, oh geez, I screwed up. It's too cheap, and now they have tons of poisons, and it's making the game too easy or something. Well, that's fine. That's fine. Prices go up. And they're like, why did the prices go up? Well, because you were making tons of poisons, dude. It's supply and demand. You were making tons of poisons, and now we have very low supply of all those ingredients. So guess what? Prices go up, buddy. That's the way it works around here. It's called an economy. And they're like, oh yeah, that is how economies work. Ha ha ha. Or if you come in too expensive and all the ingredients are too expensive and your player's like, dude, this is crazy, and they try to buy some stuff and they can barely get anything. You know what I mean? Same thing happens. Nobody's buying because things are too expensive, or the people that are harvesting all the ingredients for potions find a huge cache of them or get lucky or something, and then the prices come down, and then it makes it more affordable. So it's okay to come in too low or too high. Just implement something, start somewhere, and then adjust as needed. You know, if you're trying to find that gold piece price for the ingredients to make the poisons. Be careful with charging too much time though. Time to create and craft things is at a scarcity in D&D in most games. Most of the time, players aren't going to just stop the adventuring and just spend tons of time crafting or creating a stronghold or doing these things. They don't have time. Many times there's a ticking clock out there. There's a plot hook that needs to be explored. They're always going to have some sense of urgency to go do a thing that's going to stop them from spending time crafting or doing other things. I have found in my games that my players will almost never take downtimes because there's always something that needs to get done. And they will rationale, they will just be like, no, we can't, we gotta go do this thing. We have to do this thing. So what I literally do in my games is I force them to take downtime when they're going to level up. And I force it upon them. There's no choice. You're leveling up, you must take downtime. Now, they do downtime activities as part of the leveling up process. But it is my way of forcing them. It's my way of creating space at the game table, I should say, so that they can feel free to pursue downtime activities, which might include crafting. Because if I don't give them the space, if by DM fiat, I do not create the space for them to do downtime, they won't. Even though they want to, they feel like they can't because there's a plot hook that Luke has told us that we gotta go, that we need to go do this thing. And so by DM fiat, I create the space that gives them permission to take downtime without consequences. Okay. Usually, unless I have had a couple times where they had a choice to make, and I was very clear. I was like, okay, listen, guys, this happened in my Sword Coast Guard game. Listen, guys, you are now eligible for level 12. However, you know that dragon is rampaging across the countryside. If you take 10 days to level up and get to level 12 before you go fight that dragon, he's gonna raise some more villages. What do you want to do? And they had to choose, do we take downtime or do we stop the dragon? So sometimes I do give them that diabolical choice, but usually when they have to take their downtime as part of leveling up, that is a space, and it's my permission to them to take a downtime activity and don't worry about consequences in the game world. This is me allowing you to do something that you find interesting and fun. Okay, so that's another piece of advice for you too, that hopefully is helpful. Man. What is the key to running multiple campaigns at once? Organization. 100% organization. So, again, spoilers, Zack. So this is OneNote. This is what I use to organize my games. I have literally every single one of my games has a book with tons of tabs and tons of notes. Ancient Dragon, Curse of Strahd, my Youngling campaign, Sword Coast Guard had a campaign, Dragon Heist, Hand of Light. Organization and note keeping. Keep yourself organized, take notes so you remember stuff, and then plan. Write things out and plan. That is the key to running multiple campaigns. From my experience, obviously. So that's the big key. It's time for a cat trip. It's always the same amount per level. Every time they level up, they get 10 days for downtime, or 1 week. I run in Forgotten Realms, and a week is 10 days, is a 10 day. But every time they level up, you must take 1 week of downtime, which is one downtime activity. They're welcome to take more, right? They just almost never do. I actually recently in my Ancient Dragon campaign, they took an extra downtime that I didn't make them take. And they almost didn't. The players were going back and forth. One of the players is like, I really want to do this thing. And the other players were like, I don't think we should. I don't think we should. And they ended up taking an additional downtime. And that one player, there was really only one player that really wanted to do downtime. He wanted to do some research on something that he was super interested in. All the rest of the players, I could tell, were not interested in the downtime. They wanted to get to the next adventure. But the one dude wanted to do the downtime. He has some stuff with his character that he's working on that he's really excited about, and so he's trying to progress that forward and stuff. I would definitely classify him as an old school gamer. Old school gamers tend to be more interested in character development and doing things on the side, and things like building strongholds and researching stuff and doing all these interesting things. New school gamers, tend to be far more interested in going on adventures and defeating monsters and villains and stuff and getting loot. I mean, old school likes that too, but they also like to do more of like some downtime-ish type activities and stuff on the side, making their own Assassin's Guild with members and stuff. So I tend to find that a little bit more of something that interests old school gamer types than the younger school gamer types. It's just a vague generalization. Doesn't always hold true, obviously. So they did take an extra downtime. I think that's the first group ever of mine that has taken an additional downtime when I didn't make them take downtime, and they almost didn't. All right, let us do our cat trip. Where is this? I got cats all under my feet. Every time I move in my basement, I have to look around and see if there are cats that are gonna get tripped on or something. Here we go. Here is our cat trip. This is Cat Crack. It's catnip, Twitch. It's catnip. There's no need to ban me, dude. It's literally catnip. Of course, people can do crazy stuff on Twitch, and they don't get banned. If I hold up this and I get banned, there's some serious problems around here. All right, let's get these guys hopped up. All right, we have our banana and our happy carrot. We are now going to apply the catnip. That's the wrong button. There we go. That looks better. We are now applying the catnip, ladies and gentlemen, to our happy banana, or happy carrot, and our beaten up old banana. I gotta get a new banana. I've been saying that for a few streams now. We've applied the catnip. We are now going to transport the addictive legal substance down to the cats for their consumption and ultimate pleasure. And now I'm going to change my screen. Here we go. There's one. I am making my moderator's job hard right now. I'm talking about Cat Crack, and my moderators are like, please keep it family friendly, no drug references. And at the same time, Penguin Butt's like, Luke, why are you doing this to us? Help! Ah! Love you, Penguin Butt. You're awesome. Thank you so much for being so, for not quitting. All right, I'm gonna go. I'll be right back. You watch the kitties.
Little guy. What's going on, little guy?
Why is Squeaky the only one over there? Did Squeaky run the other cat off? Stop being in my head. Was Squeaky running them off? Was he being a jerk? Was Squeaky being a jerk? Squeaky threatened everyone else? What a jerk. Squeaky! Why are you a jerk? Don't blink at me. He's like, look at me, I'm so adorable. Don't yell at me, I'm adorable. Luke, no? What do you mean? Luke, no. They just left when Squeaky came. Oh, really? Oh, okay. You're from Western Europe and can't figure out how to know if it's AM or PM. It is AM for you right now. It's like 1 or 2 in the morning for you right now, dude. He wasn't actually a jerk. It was like a silent contract they all had. Oh, Squeaky came. We have to go away. All right. I have a warlock at my table that suffers from amnesia, which is free reign and allows me to write some of my plot hooks into that backstory. However, in recent sessions, the player has been speaking of his past in character or specific details of things which may or may not throw a wrench in soak of my proposed ideas. Whilst I'm all for agency, how do I approach this preferential amnesia without making it a big deal? You've been banking on something that is your player's prerogative to change. So, yeah. It's like people who speed. We speed on the freeway and stuff, and we just assume that as long as we're only going 5 over, the cops won't pull us over and give us a ticket. And we assume that we're safe as long as we're only going 5 over. However, come the day that we start getting pulled over for going 5 over and we start getting tickets, we're like, hey, that's not fair. I thought, no, you were assuming, that you wouldn't get a ticket, but now you did, and it happened, And so we're, in your instance, you're kind of banking on the fact that his amnesia gives you a way to just do whatever you want in there and introduce plot hooks and stuff like that, But at the same time, it is your player's prerogative to just be like, hey, my amnesia is going away. I'm starting to remember bits and pieces and stuff. And your player doesn't know what you're planning. They don't know the things you have going on. And I'm assuming they don't. They shouldn't. That should be mysteries to them, I'm guessing. And then as they're introducing stuff that they're remembering, that happens to stomp on your plans and stuff. I probably would just not necessarily change your plot hooks, not necessarily change what you were planning, but you just have a different mechanism for introducing it to the group now. You can no longer, since their amnesia and their returned memories have kind of, you know, ruined how you were going to present this adventure, you find a different way to present it to your group. That's it. No longer is it an amnesia thing from the warlock. You find a different mechanism to present it to your group, which isn't a bad thing. It is good to have a variety of different ways that the group might find adventure hooks and things to do. Sometimes it's from an NPC, sometimes they run into it, sometimes somebody is from their backstory, sometimes, you know, their childhood friend comes and visits them, sometimes they get a message. I don't know, there's a variety of different things. So I would just, when there is something that he kind of comes up with that kind of puts a wrench in your plans, adjust your plans a little bit. Just the way you present it to your players. It doesn't mean that you got to throw everything out that you've worked on. It just means you got to tweak things a little bit, I think. You could also have a conversation with your player if you really feel like you need to. But if you guys come to a sort of arrangement on things, you kind of by default are going to have to explain things that you have planned, which ruins some of the mystery in the game for that player. And I wouldn't do that unless you absolutely had to. I would try to correct things behind the scene without them knowing about it before I would try to, you know, collude with them, so to speak. What are we talking about? We're talking about following the speed limit. That's what chat's talking about. Those are jerks. Either they stop and ticket you or they don't. There should be a lot more going through into why you get stopped. A lot of times, many times police officers will stop a person for speeding, and they're also checking out different things. Do they have a warrant out for them? You know, is anything illegal going on? Bad guys are stupid a lot of times, you know, like how many times do people that have warrants and stuff, you know, get pulled over for something like going through a stop sign or speeding, doing something totally stupid that they should have been more careful about, and they never would have gotten caught, you know? And so a lot of times these minor traffic violations result in the police officers figuring out something else is going on that we should really actually worry about and punish them for, you know? So I get that. It makes total sense. It's like, in a way, it's like choosing your battles and directing your limited manpower to where it makes the most impact in the society too. I got that one. That's how Ted Bundy got caught doing something stupid. That name sounds familiar, but from like a long time ago. If it said 70 miles per hour, it's 70 miles per hour. No illusion on that. Yeah, but people just don't care. Like where I live, I don't know how it is where other people live, but where I live, it doesn't matter what the speed limit says. People will always go 5 to 10 over, like almost always. Like they had this big thing for the freeways where I live. The freeways have been 70 miles per hour for the longest time. And when the speed limit was 70, guess what? People would go 75 to 80, always. And then there was this thing in the news, and they're just like, well, you know, it's actually safe to go 75. We should increase the speed limit to 75. Okay, so they increased the speed limit to 75 for lots of the freeways. Guess what happened? People now go 80 to 85, like clockwork. And I'm not stupid. I know that politicians and people that make these laws and changes, they knew that was gonna happen. They're not morons. You know, they might be sleazy, some of them, but they're not usually morons. But yeah, so now everybody just on those freeways goes like 80 to 85 because the speed limit's 75. I was oh gosh, okay, whatever, we'll stop talking about that. I was gonna tell a story. Okay, I'll tell a story. I was in a group of people talking about some stuff, and there was this one woman. She was telling this story. Well, let's put some context around it. It was like a Christian group, and we're all, we were like doing Bible studies and stuff. Okay, a little bit of context makes the story make more sense, I guess. And she was telling this story about how she travels for a living and does lots of travel all over the place. And she was talking about how she usually gets these like old Cadillacs because they run really well and they're pretty dependable. And she then was talking about how she always speeds and goes about 80 miles an hour. And she was boasting about how when a police officer pulls her over, she can almost always tell a lie or a story or something, or fake tears or something to get out of a ticket. She's boasting about it. And the context is important, because then I looked at her and I'm like, that's wrong. That's so wrong that you're doing that. And she was like, oh, Luke, nah. And I'm just like, well, it's wrong. Come on. She's like, I didn't get the logic behind boasting about that in the context of that group. You know what I mean? I was like, dude, that's so wrong. You're boasting about lying to police officers to get out of tickets. Most police officers probably don't believe half the stuff people tell them anyway, because people just lie to get out of stuff. But anyway, there's a fun story for you. I don't know how fun that was, but. Yes, Mr. Gorks, that's the point. It was a Bible study group, and she was boasting about it. That's why I'm like, what? Context, hello? This isn't the story you should be telling to us right now, right? It wasn't like I have a confession to make, I have this problem, you know what I mean? It was literally boasting about it. I'm just like, what? All right. Penguin Butt has a question. I like how Penguin Butt has her questions in a special color. They're not blue or red, which are standard accepted color formatting for the sheet, but her questions are in a special color to draw Luke's attention to them. Penguin Butt says she didn't do it. Goliath Cleric did it. It's all right. You guys do a lot of hard work. I'm happy to answer your questions too. She says, how much of the session do you use for downtime? As little as possible. Probably, I want to give people space and time to do the cool things they want to do, but I also try to resolve these things quickly. My goal is a half an hour in and out. Each person states their downtime. We resolve it as quickly as possible. Hopefully it can take 5-ish minutes per person. I try to do it as quickly as possible. Some downtime is faster to resolve than others. But if I can get downtime done in a half an hour, I feel like I've won, because when the players are taking downtime, here's the thing. One person is playing the game while the other people wait for their turn to do downtime. And then when that person's done, one person is playing the game while they get to do their downtime. Everybody else is waiting. A lot of times they're leveling up their characters because we do combine it with leveling up. So they're not necessarily bored and waiting, but they're not actually playing the game a whole lot. They're really just waiting for everybody's downtime to get done with, because then we're going to go actually do the adventure, and then everybody gets to play again. So downtime isn't always the most exciting thing in the game to play at the game table. It can be, but it's not usually. So I try to make it take as little time as possible. Half an hour is my goal. In and out, I try to resolve things quickly and we get it done. That is my goal. So I want to make sure that people can do it and do cool things and get the benefits of. Here's the thing. A lot of times the reason players want to do downtime is not for the enjoyment of doing downtime. It's for the results. They want the results. They want to sell the magic item. They want to buy the magic item. They want to do the research to get information. They want to work on creating their stronghold. They want the results. Getting there is not the fun part of downtime. Usually, it's the actual results. So if we can streamline as much as possible and get through it so they get the results, they're happy because they got the results. That was the whole point of downtime, not role playing it out. It's literally to get what you want, you know? So that's my goal for downtime, as little as possible. You are totally in time to ask a question. We got like about a half hour more on the stream. So throw your questions up, dude. I was actually just gonna make a comment how I'm getting low on time. Or low on questions. We don't have that many questions out there. Also want to remind folks that we still have 3 bosses to kill. We are close though. We're getting close to doing a giveaway and we have about 30 minutes or so left. And if we kill all of these bosses, then I will be giving away a D&D book to one person who is in the stream at the end of the stream. And we're getting very close to getting there. So feel free to kill 𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐿, deplete his hit points and beat the crap out of him and get him off from there. And if you deliver the killing blow, your name goes up there and you're the next boss that we will kill. 𝐑𝐄𝐿, try number 3 for my question. So here's hoping. All right, 𝐑𝐿, I'm going to answer your next question. Since your name is up top, you get special privileges. What's your question, dude? Hit me. Oh, I see another one up here. Oh, I see another one question. Oh, I do see it. The one about the Lich? Thank you, Anonymous Grizzly. In Volo's guide, there's the undead Illithid variant, the Mind Flayer Lich. Yes, I'm not super familiar with it, but I know what you're talking about. In your opinion, if you had to, how would you use this creature in a campaign? However I wanted to, whenever it felt right. That's my gut response. Is it really just as simple as making it an overpowered lone Mind Flayer story or a variant on a typical Lich story? Kind of, it can be. It absolutely can be. Do you think there's something else you could do with it? There is an infinite number of things you could possibly do with it. You could make it as simple as there just being a Lich Mind Flayer there with a couple minions and the players come along and take them out. You could put an elaborate backstory and reason and rationale to it. He could be like a big bad with several lieutenants that the players have to work their way up through. There's a number of different ways you could do it, and the number of stories and things you put behind it are limited only to your imagination and your creativity. So there's tons of different ways you could do it. Now, does it have to be some complex, elaborate affair where you build up to it and make it this amazing, grandiose moment? No, it doesn't have to be. Of course not. Any monster, even something iconic like a Tarrasque, could just show up and you got to fight it. You don't have to build up and make it some elaborate story and thing. It could just be there and they're like, holy crap, they crap themselves and they got to fight the thing. So it can be whatever you want it to be, whatever suits you and your purposes. If you feel inspired to make something really cool and amazing out of it and have a story to it and have all this stuff going on, dude, that's great. Figure it out. Use your creativity and rock and roll. If you just think the thing is awesome as a stat block and all you really care about is running a fight with it, that's fine too. That's fine too. Give that guy some minions, have them come upon the players, you know, and then just be like, yo, we're gonna take your brains. Let's go. So you can do that however you feel you want to do it, you know, and it's all good. That applies to any monster, honestly. All right, I think I got your question. Whee! Oh, minions, yeah. I use the term minions just to refer to like helpers and stuff, but you could literally use minion rules out of 4th edition too. I do use those from time to time in my boss battles. Yes, if your question doesn't get answered, I have a Discord channel that has tons of dungeon masters, many of them experienced, more experienced than I am, who can help answer your question as well. There's literally a DM advice channel or DM advice layer or something, I call it, and people will help you. Mommy cat's chasing the banana around. DM advice and questions. All right, cool. Thanks. Bad Wolf says, I'm seeing a post for paid games. What qualifications would you have for a game master who is thinking about the route of pay to play? There's only one qualification. There's really only one qualification that even matters. You can run games that people enjoy playing enough that they're willing to pay you for. That's all that matters. Can you create a fun, enjoyable game experience for players so much that they're willing to pay you for it? That's the thing. That's all that matters. I don't give a flying crap how long you've been a game master. Literally don't care. Literally don't care. I have been a player in games with dungeon masters that have been dungeon masters way longer than I have. Tons of experience. They've met Gary Gygax and all of these famous people. They've played in their games and they suck. Their games suck. The way they run their games sucks. And I don't like them as dungeon masters. So experience doesn't mean, it doesn't necessarily mean anything at all. How many people have had a teacher that has seniority, that's been teaching for 20, 30 years, that's the world's most horrible teacher? Experience doesn't mean everything, folks. It really doesn't. Now, you could also have a brand new dungeon master, like Matt was here a while ago. He was a dungeon master for the first time a few years ago when I was a player, and he did an amazing job. He killed it. He was a great dungeon master. His first time, I'm pretty sure, being a dungeon master. I thought he did a great job. He was my player for a couple years maybe, and then he did some dungeon mastering for us. Did a great job. First time. It was amazing. He did a better job his first time dungeon mastering than this moron who had like tons of experience dungeon mastering. I've been at conventions with people who are clearly dungeon mastering for their first time and they suck. And I've been at, and then there have been people that have been super experienced that I thought were awesome and I loved. And here's the other thing. There's a difference in styles too. The way I run my games is different from somebody else's way of running the game. So I have people that pay me to play as players in my game, and some of them have tons of fun, but every so often somebody comes in and it's just not for them. It doesn't matter who I am and what I do, how much experience I have. My style as a game master is not a good fit for them and they don't enjoy it, and so they trickle out. You know, that happens too. So really the only thing is, you know, can you run fun and enjoyable games that people are willing to pay for? That's the most important thing. Experience doesn't matter. It doesn't. Now, is there a higher probability of an experienced game master running a better game? Sure. Is it more likely that an inexperienced game master is going to run a crappy game? Possibly. So it does have some meaning, but it's not the end all be all by any means whatsoever. And here's the other thing, yo, people lie. People lie. They can say they've been doing something for any number of time. They can say they have all this experience and stuff like that, but are you really going to check their resume? Like, they list out all the things they've done as a dungeon master and all of their accomplishments and crap. Are you double checking their resume? Are you really? People aren't stupid. They know you can't. It's not like you could run a background check to see if they've actually been a dungeon master for Gary Gygax. It's like, it's not going to happen. You're not going to do it. So people lie. So they can say whatever they want. The ultimate test is to, the only thing you can do is pay the money, go sit in their game and find out. If they record their games and post them somewhere, you could also watch their games. That's a good way to learn too. Except that I will point out that being a player in a game and watching a game is a big difference. There have been games that I've watched and I thought, this is boring. But all the players sure seem to be having fun, and they keep going back week after week because they're having fun, but the game's not for a viewer. It's not for me to watch and be entertained. It's for the players to play and be entertained. So take the whole idea of watching a dungeon master with a grain of salt, because you might watch a dungeon master and not be impressed. But he might not be running the game for you, the viewer. He might be running the game for his players, and they might all be having the time of their lives. it's not fun for you to watch, you know. So there's a difference there. So think about that too. There are some thoughts for you. Eric from Phoenix says, I love watching your Curse of Strahd game, Luke. Tons of fun. Well, thank you, dude. By the way, our Curse of Strahd game is 100% an example of a game that is not made for viewers. I quite frankly don't give a flying crap that people are watching us and they may or may not be entertained. I am not running that game for an audience. I run that game for my players, and I just put it up on Twitch and YouTube and crap for people to watch it. But that's an example of a game that I run for my players. And I key off from them. Are they having fun? Are they enjoying themselves? Do I see them smiling? Do I see them engaging? You know, that's what I key off from. Not from viewers and people watching it and stuff. I just don't care. I literally don't care. I'm happy to hear that people enjoy watching them, but that's not why I'm doing it. Any cool stories about employers seeing it at the interview? Oh, I think you're asking somebody else that. Limited cuss words, which is nice. Yes, Eric, I have very explicit reasons. I actually outlined to my moderators. I had several reasons that I don't do swearing and stuff in my videos. Or one, I just don't as an individual. I don't use foul language, you know, unless I almost get hit in traffic and it slips out because I thought I was about to die, you know. But it also just makes it's like you don't have to worry about your kids walking in when you got a video going and everybody's swearing, you know. It's like if it's got friendly language, then you don't got to worry about it so much. You can just watch it, you know. It's more inclusive to have videos and stuff that doesn't have foul language, because more people are likely to like engage with it and like it. There are some people that swear so much that I just don't want to listen to them, and I turn them off right away because I just find it aggravating or something. You know, there are a whole bunch of reasons for not using foul language, you know, in like productions and stuff like that. So anyway, I had like about 6 or 7 different reasons I outlined to my moderators. We were just talking about it and crap, and I was like, this is why I don't do it. Here's a bunch of reasons. How should you inform your players that the encounter is either unwinnable or possibly deadly without making it obvious? Make it obvious. Make it obvious. Players sometimes don't take subtlety. I generally speaking, I feel like the way I do it, when something is really deadly or potentially unwinnable, I'm pretty obvious about it. I'm not trying to hide it. I'm not trying to trick them. I want them to know exactly what they're getting into. This dragon turtle, you're level 8. This dragon turtle is probably way above your pay grade. This titan you just woke up, you're level 9. This titan you woke up is way above your grade. Oh, look, and he just squashed an entire castle. Yeah, you probably don't want to mess with him. This ancient red dragon that's bearing down upon you. Yeah, it just burned down an entire forest. It's huge. It just ate a couple giants and stuff. You just witnessed it. You probably want to talk to it. You probably don't want to fight it. I'm not subtle when I'm putting something in the game world that is deadly, probably not winnable. I'm not trying to hide it. I'm not trying to trick my players. I'm trying to give them a choice. What do you guys want to do? This thing's nasty. You're gonna fight it? You're gonna talk to it? You're gonna hide? You run away? It's up to you guys. You could try to do whatever you want, but it might not go well for you. However, if you do fight it and you win, guess what? Loot. Sweet loot, baby. Whenever there's an insurmountable challenge If you take it on and you beat it, loot. Or sometimes if you use your brains. I had my Sword Coast Guard group at level 8 took on a dragon turtle, and which is like a CR 13ish or something. It was way more than they could handle. But they did a distraction. They distracted it. One of them swam down into its lair and stole some magic items from this dragon turtle. And then they all ran away with some magic items. So they used their brains to distract and bypass and get the magic items. And then it actually, I have a story about that dragon turtle on my YouTube channel. Later on, the dragon turtle, which is an intelligent creature, started hiring mercenaries to track down my players and get the magic items back. And it turned into this whole thing, and they kept on running into mercenaries, attacking them to get the magic items back. And then finally they were like, you know what? We're tired of this stupid dragon turtle sending mercenaries after us. We're going to kill the dragon turtle. And so they tracked the dragon turtle down. They were higher level at this point. They tracked the dragon turtle down and then fought it and killed it. They were like, okay, we're done. We killed the stupid thing. But that created an amazing source of like little encounters to poke at them. Hey, dragon turtle, this is the dragon turtle again. He wants his magic items back. So it's like, yes, the players felt amazingly clever and awesome for stealing the magic items. And they were clever, and it was awesome, and it was beautiful. And then later on at the dungeon, and they took the dragon turtle's eggs as well. They took like 2 or 3 of the dragon turtle eggs, which was another reason the dragon turtle wanted to get them. And so they did that, and I'm like, okay, cool. You guys did that. That's great. You guys were smart, resourceful, beautiful, excellent. And then after the game session and stuff, I'm thinking, okay, what am I gonna do here? What would this dragon turtle do? It's a smart creature. It has like an intelligence of 10, so it's a smart creature. It can't really go on land at all. It has a hard time getting it. Oh, but it has money. It still has a bunch of gold. It could talk to people and hire people to go after them. Yeah, there we go. Giddy up. And then I had an ongoing source of stuff, you know, to kind of toss in to the campaign every so often until I poked my players enough. They finally got tired and were like, we're going after the dragon turtle. So it was really cool. Spammers die. Please remember, spammers die. A dragon turtle's a CR17? Oh, really? It is? Is a dragon turtle a CR17? Well, then that's way above their pay grade. So totally above their pay grade. Wow. At level 8. That's an example. Sometimes I do that. I'll just throw something in that's crazy. And I'm like, my players shouldn't fight this thing. I'll just throw it in there though. Just see what happens. I don't do it too often, because if you abuse it and overuse it, then it doesn't have the effect that you want. But every so often, something's there in the game world that's really nasty. All the months of me watching Luke, now I notice his earring. Yeah, this is my earring. Yeah, I got this when I was in college. It was probably at like Claire's or something in the mall. They're just like, there you go, buddy. I'm like, wee. All right, folks, we got about 20 minutes left in the stream, and we have not killed all of our bosses yet. So you can kill the boss right here, 𝐑𝐄𝐒𝐿, by subbing, by cheering, and by sending tips on over. If we kill 3 more bosses, then we will have a giveaway tonight, D&D book of your choice to a winner, or a back issue of Lair magazine too. So, and you don't have to buy anything, you just have to be present and you will win. Well, you won't win, you have a chance of winning if you're present at the end of the stream. Also want to remind folks that I publish out to my patrons every single month an issue of Lair magazine. If you're looking for high quality Dungeon Master resources to reduce your prep time and improve your games, then check out my Patron at the link right there. My patrons get this every single month. It has complete 5th edition adventures in it, things like traps, puzzles, NPCs, villains, lots of cool things to help you in your games. And the maps come as image files that you can put in virtual tabletops, making your life a lot easier. So check that crap out. All right, more questions. How do you decide how much of those 3 pillars in a given adventure? So the question that the person's referring to the 3 pillars of exploration, social interactions, which is not called role-playing. The whole game is role-playing. Combats, social interactions, and exploration. How do you decide how much of those 3 pillars to put in? I think there are 2 things that I use to determine how much to put in. 3 things. 3 things. 1, what are my preferences as a dungeon master? What are my preferences? What do I like running in my game? That's the first consideration. 2, what are the preferences of my 2, what are the preferences of my players? What do they like? Do most of my players like combat a lot? Okay, there's going to be a little bit more combat than other things. If most of my players like social interactions, there might be a little bit more social interactions than the other things. 3, variety. Variety. It doesn't matter how much everybody likes one thing, I'm still going to give them some variety, because there's always one player that loves exploration or loves this other thing that most people don't. So there's always going to be variety, always. But there's also going to be a consideration of what I like doing and what my players like doing. So it's a unique answer for each group. I love combat. There's no hiding that. I love combat. I love social interactions. So you're going to find social interactions and you're going to find combat. A lot of times they're going to be combined, because before a combat happens, there's a social interaction with the villains where you're talking to them. And then usually you end up fighting them anyway. And then I always put exploration in, because players like exploration. Some players, many of them, like exploration stuff too. And I actually don't mind. I enjoy running exploration stuff at my game table. When I'm a player, I don't care about exploration at all. I am totally disengaged from exploration usually. But as a dungeon master, I'm fine with it. I enjoy running it. I just don't like being a player doing it. I don't know if that makes sense, but so yeah, those are the 3 considerations for determining how much of a mix of those things to put in your games. And it's a unique answer. There is no set rule. If you're not sure, you can't go wrong with an equal of each. Throw a variety, throw a mix in, roughly equal of each, and see how your players respond. Until you get some experience and understand your players and what makes them tick, you can't go wrong with just having a variety in there. I mean, you could technically go wrong, but that's your safest bet. What do I do about a player who doesn't like preparing her character's spells? Okay, so it's not optional. Like, you must decide which spells you have prepared. It's not an optional thing. Like, I don't care if you don't like doing it. Like, if you are a wizard, you're deciding which spells you have prepared. If you are a druid, you're deciding which spells you have prepared. Whether you like it or not, it's part of the game and you have to do it. You're like, well, I don't like having to keep track of my hit points, so I'm just not gonna do it. No, doesn't work that way, special snowflake. Like, it's part of the game. You gotta keep track of your hit points. Well, no, it's part of the game. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you like tracking prepared spells or not. That is literally a part of the game, and actually a very important part of the game. Okay, that helps rein in the unlimited power of a wizard who can cast any spell in his spell book. All right, so it doesn't matter what you like or not. The rules are the rules are the rules. And that's actually an important rule for that matter. She's playing a druid in a Pathfinder game I'm running, and while she likes the animal companion and such, she hates learning about what spells she has and preparing them. That's her problem. Like, dude, that's if you need to choose which spells you're gonna have prepared. You must. If you don't choose which spells you have prepared, I'm assuming you don't have any of them prepared. and you're not casting any of them. Choose your spells. She doesn't like learning about the spells. I mean, that's fine, all right? But like, you need to, like, I don't know. There are two ways you can go with this. It really depends on the player. It depends on the player. I'm gonna take a couple different stances, or I don't know. I might be very helpful and just be like, well, you know, here's a summary of what these spells do. Which one do you want to prepare? You know, or I might just be like, yeah, you chose to play a spellcaster. Like, you kind of got to learn what the spells do, or you're just not going to use the spells. And if you don't want to use the spells, I guess that's okay. But just be aware that you're kind of nerfing yourself by not knowing what the spells are and what they do, you know, and that's kind of on her. So if she doesn't want to prepare them, if she doesn't want to learn what they do, then she's probably just not going to use them in the game. And she can do her wild shape stuff and have fun doing that. So I'm going to have a combination of just being like, okay, well then you're just not casting spells, or I'm going to be helping and trying to help her learn those things. I feel like it probably depends a little bit on her attitude and where she's coming at from a player as well. If she's trying to learn and it's difficult, I'm going to be more helpful. If she's just like, screw it, I don't care, I'm not even going to make an effort, then I'll be like, okay, well then I guess you don't cast spells, do you? Like, you got to meet me halfway here. I can't do all the work for you as a dungeon master. I'm already doing a whole lot of stuff called running the game. You gotta at least be willing to learn a little bit about your character. If you don't like the spell aspect of things, then you shouldn't play a spellcasting character. I don't know what to tell you. If I was her party member, I'd be confronting her character in game about being unprepared and risking the party's lives. Yeah, because she's a deficit. She's a liability. She's not pulling her weight. I can see that. D&D is a group effort. Everyone's got to run their part. Yep. It sounds like you have a super casual gamer who's just like, whatever, I'm only going to engage with the parts of the game that I find interesting, and the rest of it, I'm just going to be like, whatever, I don't care. You know, I get it. I understand it, but yeah, it's very selfish. It's very selfish. And you're not taking into consideration everybody else, and that's not cool. How do you balance a combat for more PCs? Heavier hitters or more hitters? Just make things harder. You're asking if there are more PCs, do you have heavier hitters or do you have more hitters? You could do either or a combination of both. It doesn't matter. Action economy is pretty important. So if you have more PCs, you probably want to have more enemies, because action economy is a very important mechanic in the game. But you can also just have them hit for more damage as well. You can do a combination of either of those things, and sometimes you're going to do both. But either or is acceptable. What's my preference? I'll do either or both. I don't think I have a preference one way or the other. I'll use both different ways of doing it to make things balanced. I don't think I have a favorite go-to way for doing that. I'm going to have a variety of encounters. Some encounters are going to have lots of bad guys. Some encounters are going to have fewer, and the individuals are going to hit really hard. My eyes are like, they're just weeping, you know? That's why I keep on rubbing at them. Just wanted to share. I'm getting ready to start a game. Players start at level 0. I don't even know what that means. It's not even in the game rules. And based on their actions in the game, they would be assigned their class. No. Good idea, bad idea. No. Things to look out for. Let the players play what they want to play. Do not by DM fiat decide what their class is going to be. That is a surefire way to make at least some of your players dissatisfied. I would never do that. I just would not do that. I would not force my players to play a character that they don't want to play. I would never do that. That's something from like the Ultima games where you like answer all those questions about what you would do in certain situations, and then it determines what your class would be. And I did not like that in the Ultima games. If some of you know what these games are, they're from like old school computer games. I would always want to be a magic user, and I would try to answer the questions to get the class that I wanted to be. I did not want the game or the dungeon master or some like, you know, overbeing decide what my class was going to be. If I wanted to be a magic user, I wanted to pick a magic user. So I personally would not do that. It doesn't mean that it's wrong morally. I think you're just very, very high probability that players will be dissatisfied with how that turns out for them. Do you have suggestions for modifying the CR system, given the growing power gap with new books like Tasha's? Yeah. One way you could do it, a very simple way you could do it is if you have a group of level 5 characters, when you do all of your calculations, you just pretend like they're level 6 characters. You balance everything for a group for a level that is one higher than them. Bingo, bango. You could do that. You could rebalance. You could throw some more enemies in each encounter. You could give each enemy in an encounter an extra attack or something like that. You could give them more hit points and stuff. If you're running a module, it's more challenging to rebalance things. If you are doing homebrew, then it is much easier to rebalance things because of power creep. So there are a few different ways you could do that. I actually think there's a reason that many of the new modules coming out are so challenging. Like if you look at Icewind Dale, Tomb of Annihilation, some of these new modules are super challenging. I think there's a reason why. Like the game developers know that they're introducing power creep into the game. They know that it happens. It's going to happen. More options, more combinations. People are going to figure things out. They're going to figure out powerful combinations. It's going to happen. And so they're trending toward making their modules more challenging. And it's in part to deal with the power creep in the game. So I think that's probably an intentional thing for them to do. SG Ahmed, hey, what's up, dude? How you doing? We have 5 minutes left. 5 minutes. I started using Adventuring Day XP pool, and it works good for me in terms of combat. Yep. However, there are different things that can deal damage to PCs like traps and that kind of stuff, which also stretches their resources, but isn't reflected in XP pool and the Sierra system. Yep, that's true. How do you evaluate traps in a typical Adventuring Day? I don't care. I just don't consider it. Is it a good idea to give traps a CR and add them to an Adventuring Day XP pool? You can, but I usually don't. If I had an adventure that had lots of traps in it, then I would probably consider that because it does deplete the resources. However, my adventures usually don't have many traps in them. I might have one trap maximum in an adventure. And first of all, I don't use XP. Oh, you're talking about the Adventuring Day XP, which I do use. I usually don't consider it because I just assume my players are probably going to be more powerful than I anticipate, and I just don't consider it. And a lot of times too, when I put a trap in the game, the traps are designed to be an exploration piece. The traps are designed usually for them to find them and then bypass them. My traps in my games are usually not a, haha, you triggered a trap, take some damage. That's not how I design traps. Traps are designed to be an interesting thing that happens in the game, as opposed to a, haha, here's some free damage, take some free damage, suckers. Like, that's not how I use traps in the game. And so a lot of times players will find them and bypass them, and it becomes a time for them to roleplay their PCs. Well, how do you get past that trap? What are you guys gonna do? You're gonna disarm it, you're gonna bypass it, dispel magic, like what are you guys gonna do? You know, and a lot of times it doesn't involve a depletion of resources. And so usually I just don't even worry about it. I just put it in there and call it a day. I don't think puzzle traps don't deplete resources usually. And so we're talking about the adventuring day XP when you're planning out the number of encounters to have in an adventure. We're not talking about rewarding people with XP for leveling. Those are two different things. If we're talking about rewarding people with experience points to level up, then yeah, you can reward them with experience points for leveling up from a trap, from a puzzle, from an encounter, those can all give you experience points for leveling up. But we're not talking about that right now. We were talking about the adventuring day XP that helps you plan out, you know, how many encounters you should have in an adventure that lasts one day before you would have to take a long rest. I did a video on the adventuring day a little bit ago on my channel, if you're not familiar with that. So we were talking about, there are two distinct things we were talking about right there. All right. Next question. There is an area that I said deadly, but my players still want to go there. Let them do it. You drew the line in the sand and you said, this place is deadly. And your players are like, we don't care. We're going there anyway. It's fine. You weren't bluffing. You shouldn't have been bluffing. Let them go there. I'll read the rest of your question now. Is there a way to not TPK them? No! Stop! Stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. You're already sabotaging yourself. Your brain is already thinking, oh no, they're calling my bluff. How do I not TPK them? No. If you said it was deadly and they go there, you gotta follow through. It's gotta be rough. It doesn't mean they need a TPK, but it's gotta be rough for them. It needs to be challenging. Like if you were just bluffing and they go there and it's a cakewalk and you spare their lives and they're just like, they're never gonna respect the idea that a place is deadly. They're gonna be like, nah, the dungeon master, he said it before and he was just joshing us. It's not a big deal. He says it's deadly, but it really wasn't. And we should have TPK'd, but he spared our lives. So now it's just like, whatever, we'll if it's deadly, who cares? They don't believe you anymore. You just lost the trust, the confidence, the authority. They're just like, whatever, he says one thing, but it's not really deadly. He's gonna spare our lives. So I should finish reading your question though. There is an area that I said that my players don't want to go there. Is there a way to not TPK them while still showing that the area is really dangerous? First of all, you should never set out deciding whether you're going to TPK them or not. That is never a decision that you make. Do I TPK them or not? That is something that happens or doesn't happen based upon their actions in combat, based upon dice rolls, based upon like your monster's actions and their dice rolls and stuff. But Dungeon Master shouldn't just sit back and be like, before anything happens at all, well, they're going into a dangerous area. Should I kill them or not? That should never be something that we consider. That's something that should be discovered during the course of gameplay. Who knows what they're going to do or not do that may lead to bad decisions in TPK or good decisions and getting away with their lives, but just barely. So I don't think we should be making that determination, first of all, whether we or not we're going to TPK somebody. Is there a way to not TPK them while still showing that the area is really dangerous? The way to demonstrate the area is dangerous is to design it to be dangerous. And then when they go in there, have it remain being dangerous and just play things out the way you would design them as dangerous and deadly. And your players will have to learn firsthand, holy crap, this place is dangerous and deadly. We barely survived that one combat. That was our first combat, you guys. We barely survived and it depleted half of our resources. Do we dare continue or are we gonna turn around? And they get to make that decision. And they might, that right there just showed them the area is dangerous and they didn't TPK. They had a crazy tough battle and they're like, wow, what do we do? They might be like, well, let's keep going, but let's be more careful. and try to avoid combats. Fair. So let's see how that happens. Let's see how they do. Some dice rolls, some decisions and stuff like that. Great. Or they might be like, Uncle, turn around and leave. That's fair. In either case, they've experienced how deadly it is. And that's how you do it. A book about dangerous zone, or if you have any advice on giving the players options to survive a deadly area. No, don't give them options to survive a deadly area. You don't. I'm sorry. I'm reacting to a lot of I'm reacting to a lot of assumptions baked into here, and I feel like erroneous thoughts about how to dungeon master. I feel like there's some erroneous thoughts in here, and so I'm reacting to a lot of these and trying to steer you in a different direction as far as like how we approach being a dungeon master and what our mentality should be. So giving the players options to survive a deadly area. You don't give players options to survive. That's not what a dungeon master does. A dungeon master creates a situation. The players encounter that situation. They figure out how they're going to survive. They use their brains, their noggins to survive somehow. Whether that means doing X, Y, or Z, or running away, or talking, or bribing, or giving a powerful magical item so they can survive and leave. The red dragon is about to burn you all. Like, you're all really hurt. And then the fighters and the wizard are both like, here, take our magic items, spare us. And the red dragon's like, I like magic items. I'll tell you what. I'm going to spare your lives right now. You're going to give me those magic items. And then you're going to go out and you're going to go find me some more magic items. And you're going to bring some more to me. If you don't, I'm going to find you and I'm going to finish the job I started. So you create the situation. You don't have to create options for your players to take to somehow survive. Your players need to create those options themselves. It is not your job to do the thinking for them. You create the situation, your players do the thinking for themselves, and they figure out what they're going to do. And then you as a dungeon master, you're the arbitrator. You're the one that sits there and is like, well, based upon the situation and what they're doing, you know, and the dice rolls and different things, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But it's not your job to give them options. It's your player's job to create options, to think of things to do. That's their job. So that is another mentality I think that is a little erroneous there. We're not writing a choose your own adventure book. We're not writing a choose your own adventure with options. That's not what we're doing. We're not writing books at all. We're not writing stories at all. We create situations, and when the players interact with them, depending on how they interact with them, we role play things out and we see what happens as a result. It's very dynamic. You know, things don't get decided in advance. They shouldn't get decided in advance. I still didn't finish the question. Is it giving the players options to survive a deadly area that would not be obvious to other adventurers before them? Okay, I think I did actually answer most of the points of this question. Let's see. We're in overtime. We're in overtime right now. That was good. Can you highlight that one in like a purple color or something, moderators? That was a really good one. I want to make sure I get that in one of my YouTube videos. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know how to use that stuff. They chose to go to an area that can kill them, and now it's their job to survive. Yeah. Captain Will Be Good says, yay, bonus time with Luke. Just like choked on my own saliva. Does that ever happen to people? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're wrapping up the Q&A. We're going to raid somebody. We're going to go raid somebody now.